Introduction. It was 3 a.m., and I was still awake, my mind racing through every possible outcome of a presentation I had to give the next day. Will my points land? Had I considered every potential question? What if I stumbled over my words? The scenarios multiplied like rabbits in my head, each one more catastrophic than the last. I wasn't just preparing, I was trapped in what I now recognize as the overthinking spiral. You probably know this feeling all too well. Maybe it's replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, imagining 12 different ways it could have gone better. Or perhaps it's agonizing over a decision about your career, relationship, or even what to have for dinner until the simple choice becomes a complex web of what-ifs and but maybes. You're not alone in this mental maze. In my work as a leadership development trainer and coach, I've witnessed countless brilliant minds, from CEOs to healthcare workers, from educators to entrepreneurs, all wrestling with the same challenge. Over the past 2 decades, I've worked with more than 1,000 individuals annually. And if there's one common thread I've noticed, it's that overthinking doesn't discriminate. It affects the most capable, intelligent, and successful among us, often becoming more pronounced the more we care about outcomes. The irony? Our tendency to overthink often stems from a genuine desire to do things right, be prepared, and make the best possible decisions. It's like having a security system that's so sensitive it goes off when a leaf brushes against the window. Technically, it's doing its job, but it's making life more difficult than it needs to be. Let me be clear, this isn't just about thinking too much. Recent neuroscience research has shown that overthinking actually activates our brain's threat response system, triggering the same stress reactions as physical danger. When we're caught in an overthinking loop, our amygdala, the brain's emotional processing center, goes into overdrive, while our prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational decision-making, becomes less effective. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one on the brake. You're expending a lot of energy, but not getting anywhere. But here's the good news. Just as our brains can learn to overthink, they can also learn to think more effectively. Through years of research and practical application, I've developed a system that doesn't just tell you to stop overthinking, if only it were that simple, but gives you concrete tools to transform your thought patterns. This book isn't about eliminating thinking. Far from it. It's about helping you think more efficiently, more purposefully, and ultimately, more productively. Consider it upgrading your brain's operating system. We're not doing a complete overhaul. We're just installing some better software. Over the next 21 days, you'll learn how to recognize the difference between productive thinking and overthinking, practical techniques to break free from mental loops, ways to make decisions with confidence, even when you don't have all the information, methods to quiet your inner critic without ignoring valuable self-reflection, strategies to maintain mental clarity under pressure. What makes this approach different? It's not just theory. Every technique, strategy, and exercise in this book has been battlefield tested through my work with clients across different industries and life situations. I've seen these methods transform the lives of people who thought their overthinking was just part of their personality, an unchangeable trait they had to live with. But I want to be upfront about something. This isn't a magic bullet. You won't stop overthinking overnight, and that's not the goal. Instead, think of this as learning to drive a car. At first, you have to consciously think about every move, check mirrors, signal, brake gently. But with practice, these actions become second nature, allowing you to navigate complex situations with ease. This book's 21-day structure is intentional. Research in habit formation suggests that while the old 21 days to form a habit rule isn't a hard and fast law, 3 weeks gives us enough time to establish new patterns while maintaining momentum and seeing tangible results. Frothingham, 2019. Each day builds on the previous one, providing you with specific exercises, reflection spaces, and practical applications. Some days will feel easier than others, and that's okay. Progress isn't linear, but it is inevitable when you stay committed to the process. Are you ready to begin? Turn the page, and let's start transforming your relationship with your thoughts. Your overthinking mind has served a purpose. It has kept you careful, considerate, and thorough. Now, it's time to help it work for you rather than against you. Remember, the goal isn't to think less, it's to think better. Chapter 1. How to read this book. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Abraham Lincoln. Have you ever noticed how some books seem to gather dust on your shelf, half-read and abandoned, while others become dog-eared companions, filled with highlights and margin notes? The difference often isn't just the content, it's how we approach reading them. I learned this lesson the hard way during my early days as a leadership development trainer. I remember working with Sarah, a brilliant software engineer who had read every productivity book on the market. She could quote passages from them verbatim, yet still found herself paralyzed by overthinking. When I asked about her implementation strategy, she looked confused. Implementation strategy? I just read them, she said. This conversation was a light bulb moment for me, and for Sarah. Knowledge without a structured approach to implementation is like having a high-performance car without knowing how to drive. This isn't just another self-help book you'll skim through, feel momentarily inspired by, and then forget. It's a 21-day journey designed to rewire your thinking patterns. But before we dive into the transformative work ahead, let's make sure you have the map to navigate this journey effectively. Think of this chapter as your owner's manual for mental transformation. The architecture of change, understanding how this book works. Each chapter in this book is carefully structured to build upon the previous one, creating a scaffold for lasting change. This architecture isn't arbitrary. It's based on decades of research in cognitive behavioral therapy, neuroscience, and adult learning theory. Let's break down each component and understand why it matters. Opening quotes, setting the stage. Each chapter begins with a carefully chosen quote that encapsulates its core message. These aren't just decorative. They're conversation starters between you and the ideas we're about to explore. Take this chapter's opening quote about axe sharpening, for instance. It reminds us that preparation and understanding are crucial for effective action. I encourage you to spend a moment with each quote. Ask yourself, what does this quote mean to me personally? How might it relate to my overthinking patterns? What insights might it offer about the chapter ahead? Core content, the building blocks of change. The main body of each chapter combines 3 essential elements. Scientific research. You'll find the latest findings from neuroscience, psychology, and behavioral studies. But don't worry, I won't bog you down with academic jargon. Instead, I'll translate complex research into practical insights you can use immediately. Practical strategies. Every concept is paired with actionable techniques. For instance, when we discuss decision-making in Chapter 4, you won't just learn why we get stuck in decision paralysis. You'll get specific tools to break free from it. Real-world examples. Throughout the book, I share stories from my work with clients, with details changed to protect privacy, and my own experiences. These examples show how the concepts play out in real life and demonstrate that you're not alone in your struggles. Action steps, where theory meets practice. Theory without practice is like a car without fuel. It looks good but won't take you anywhere. Each chapter includes specific exercises designed to turn insights into habits. These aren't optional extras. They're essential components of your transformation. Let me share a story about why this matters. One of my clients, Michael, was a senior executive who initially tried to efficiency hack this program by reading all the content first and planning to do the exercises later. 3 weeks in, he realized he wasn't seeing any changes. When he finally committed to doing each exercise in sequence, his progress was remarkable. It's like the difference between watching a workout video and actually doing the workout, he told me. The exercises follow a specific progression. 1. Awareness building. Early exercises help you recognize your overthinking patterns. 2. Skill development. Middle chapters focus on building new mental habits. 3. Integration. Later exercises help you incorporate these skills into your daily life. Chapter takeaways, crystallizing your learning. At the end of each chapter, you'll find bullet-pointed summaries of key concepts. These serve multiple purposes. Quick reference points when you want to refresh your memory. study guides to reinforce important concepts, progress markers to track your understanding, discussion points if you're reading this book with others. The power of the 21-day plan, your roadmap to mental freedom. At the end of this book, you'll find a detailed 21-day plan that brings together everything you've learned. But here's why you shouldn't skip ahead, and why the structure matters so much. The science behind 21 days. The old saying that it takes 21 days to form a habit isn't entirely accurate. Research suggests habit formation can take anywhere from 18 to 254 days. Frothingham, 2019. However, 3 weeks provides an optimal window for several reasons. Neuroplasticity. Your brain needs time to form new neural pathways. 3 weeks gives your brain enough time to begin establishing these new patterns. Momentum building. The first week is about awareness, the second is about implementation, and the third is about integration. This progression helps you build sustainable change. Measurable progress. 3 weeks is long enough to see tangible results, but short enough to maintain motivation. The weekly breakdown. The plan is structured in 3 distinct phases. Week 1, building awareness and foundations. Understanding your unique overthinking patterns. Identifying triggers and responses. Establishing basic mindfulness practices. Week 2, deepening your practice. Implementing specific techniques for different types of overthinking. Developing new decision-making strategies. Building emotional resilience. Week 3, solidifying habits and preventing relapse. Integrating new practices into daily life. Creating maintenance strategies. Preparing for future challenges. Making the exercises work for you. The art of implementation. The exercises in this book aren't homework assignments to grudgingly complete. They're mini challenges designed to build your mental fitness. Here's your comprehensive guide to making them work. Start where you are. Remember that story about perfect being the enemy of good? It applies here. Some exercises might feel easy, others challenging. That's normal. Like physical exercise, mental fitness is about progressive overload, starting with what you can manage and gradually increasing the challenge. Here are some tips for getting started. Assess your current comfort level with each exercise. Start with shorter durations if needed. Focus on consistency rather than intensity. Celebrate small wins along the way. Create a sustainable practice. The key to success is finding ways to integrate these exercises into your existing routine. Here are some strategies that have worked for my clients. Morning integration. Pair exercises with your morning coffee or tea. Do quick exercises during your commute. Add them to your existing morning routine. Evening wind down. Use exercises as part of your bedtime routine. Reflect on the day's progress. Plan for tomorrow's challenges. Workplace implementation. Use lunch breaks for reflection. Practice techniques during meetings. Apply exercises to real-world work situations. Use customization strategies. While the exercises are designed to work for most people, feel free to modify them to fit your life. Here's how to customize effectively. Time adjustments. Break longer exercises into smaller chunks. Combine compatible exercises if time is tight. Find your optimal time of day for practice. Environment modifications. Create a dedicated space for exercises. Use digital tools if they work better for you. Adapt exercises for different settings, home, work, travel. Personal preferences. Choose formats that resonate with you, writing, typing, recording. Adjust language or metaphors to match your experience. Scale complexity up or down as needed. The art of reflection. Making the most of reflection spaces. Throughout the book, you'll find designated reflection spaces. These aren't just blank spaces to fill. They're pause points for integration and personal insight. Let's dive deep into how to use them effectively. Creating your reflection ritual. The environment and approach you choose for reflection can significantly impact its effectiveness. Here's how to create a ritual that works. Physical space. Choose a quiet, comfortable location. Minimize distractions. Have your preferred writing tools ready. Consider lighting and temperature. Time management. Set aside specific times for reflection. Start with 5 to 10 minutes and adjust as needed. Use reminders if helpful. Protect this time as you would any important appointment. Engaging in the practice of deep reflection. Effective reflection goes beyond surface-level observations. Use these prompts to dive deeper. Question layers. What happened? Observation. How did I feel about it? Emotion. Why did I respond this way? Analysis. What can I learn from this? Insight. How can I apply this learning? Action. Writing approaches. Stream of consciousness for initial thoughts. Structured responses to specific prompts. Dialogue with yourself about challenges. Progress tracking and pattern recognition. Making connections. Use your reflection space to connect dots between different chapters and concepts. Past experiences and current challenges. Patterns in your overthinking. Successful strategies and difficult situations. A note on timing and progress. While this is a 21-day program, success isn't about rigid adherence to a calendar. Here's what you need to know about timing. Flexibility versus structure. The 21-day framework provides structure, but it isn't a strict deadline. Missing a day doesn't mean starting over. Progress isn't always linear. Adaptation is key to long-term success. Signs of progress. Look for these indicators that you're moving forward. Increased awareness of thinking patterns. Faster recovery from overthinking episodes. More confidence in decision-making. Better sleep and reduced anxiety. Improved relationships and communication. Making this book your own. This book should become a working document. Your personal guide to mental clarity. Here's how to make it truly yours. Physical interaction. Highlight key passages. Write in the margins. Use sticky notes for important pages. Create your own index of crucial points. Digital enhancement. Take photos of completed exercises. Keep a digital journal of insights. Set reminders for daily practices. Create voice notes of reflections. What's next? In the next chapter, we'll dive into understanding the overthinking trap, what it is, why we fall into it, and the first steps to breaking free. But before you turn the page, take a moment to commit to this journey. Remember, you've already taken the most important step by choosing to address your overthinking patterns. Chapter takeaways. Each chapter includes a quote, core content, action steps, and takeaways. The 21-day plan at the end of the book brings everything together. Exercises are mini challenges designed to build mental fitness. Reflection spaces are crucial for integrating insights. Consistency matters more than perfection. You can customize the program to fit your life while maintaining its core principles. Success comes from engagement and implementation, not just reading. Creating personal rituals and spaces for practice enhances effectiveness. Progress isn't linear. Flexibility and persistence are key. In the next chapter, we'll explore the science behind overthinking and why your brain gets stuck in these patterns. Get ready to understand your mind in a whole new way. Chapter 2. The Overthinking Trap. I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. Mark Twain. Have you ever watched a cat chase its tail? Round and round it goes, completely absorbed in this futile pursuit, until it either gets dizzy or distracted by something else. That's what overthinking feels like, except we rarely get distracted enough to stop. Instead, we keep spinning in mental circles, convinced that if we just think about something one more time, from one more angle, we'll finally figure it out. I remember working with James, a brilliant surgeon who could make split-second decisions in the operating room, but would spend hours agonizing over which phone to buy. In surgery, I have protocols, clear data, and years of training to guide me, he explained. But with other decisions, I keep thinking I might miss something crucial. The irony? His overthinking about the phone was actually preventing him from accessing the same clear, decisive thinking he used in surgery. The science behind the spiral. What exactly happens in our brains when we overthink? Neuroscience gives us some fascinating insights into this mental maze. When we enter an overthinking spiral, our brain's default mode network, DMN, goes into overdrive. Think of the DMN as your brain's autopilot. It's most active when you're not focused on the outside world, which is why overthinking often feels like being trapped in your own head. This default mode network serves an important purpose. It helps us process experiences, plan for the future, and understand ourselves and others. However, when it becomes overactive, it can create a kind of mental quicksand where each thought pulls us deeper into rumination. Research has shown that this excessive DMN activity is linked to increased anxiety and decreased problem-solving ability. King et al., 2016. It's like turning up the volume on your car radio so loud that you can't hear the GPS directions anymore. You're getting lots of noise, but less useful information. The physical impact of overthinking is equally striking. Studies using functional MRI scans have revealed that overthinking activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Wager et al., 2013. When you're caught in an overthinking loop about a social situation, your brain processes it similarly to how it would process a physical injury. This explains why chronic overthinking can leave us feeling mentally and physically exhausted. Thinking versus overthinking, drawing the line. But wait, you might say, isn't thorough thinking a good thing? How do I know when I've crossed the line from productive thinking to overthinking? The distinction is crucial, and it lies not in the amount of thinking, but in its quality and outcome. Here's a deeper look at the differences. Productive thinking acts like a river flowing toward the ocean. It has direction, purpose, and movement. When you're engaged in productive thinking, you'll notice that each thought builds upon the last, leading to new insights and clear action steps. This type of thinking energizes you, bringing clarity and focus to your mind. It stays firmly grounded in available facts rather than spinning off into hypotheticals. And most importantly, it moves you steadily toward solutions and decisions. Overthinking, by contrast, operates more like a whirlpool, spinning in circles, using energy but going nowhere. You might find yourself circling around the same thoughts repeatedly without gaining any new insights. The process feels compulsive and directionless, draining your energy and creating confusion rather than clarity. Your mind becomes caught in an endless loop of what-ifs and hypotheticals, keeping you stuck in analysis paralysis rather than moving toward resolution. Think of it like cooking. Productive thinking is like following a recipe. You're processing information to reach a specific outcome. Overthinking is like stirring a pot that's already well mixed. You're expending energy without improving the result. Why we get trapped in the overthinking cycle. Understanding why we overthink is crucial for breaking free from this pattern. Through extensive research and clinical experience, several key drivers have emerged. Kaiser et al., 2015. Evolutionary heritage. Our ancestors survived by anticipating problems and planning responses. In their world, missing a potential threat could be fatal. We've inherited this careful, analytical mindset, but in our modern context, it often misfires. Today's world rarely requires the kind of constant vigilance that kept our ancestors alive. Pattern-seeking brains. Humans are natural pattern seekers. It's how we make sense of the world. Our brains are constantly working to identify patterns and make predictions. But sometimes we see patterns where none exist, creating problems that don't actually need solving. This tendency can lead us down rabbit holes of analysis that serve no practical purpose. Perfectionism and control. Many overthinkers are perfectionists in disguise. We believe that if we think about something long enough, we can find the perfect solution or prevent any possible negative outcome. This perfectionism often masks a deeper need for control in an uncertain world. Learned behavior. Some of us learn to overthink as a coping mechanism. Maybe we grew up in environments that heavily praised being careful and thorough, or where mistakes carried heavy consequences. These early experiences can profoundly shape our adult thinking patterns. Breaking the cycle. Understanding your triggers. The first step to breaking free from overthinking is identifying your personal triggers. These are the situations, environments, or thoughts that typically launch you into an overthinking spiral. The trigger tracking triangle helps identify 3 key elements of your overthinking episodes, each providing crucial information about your patterns. 1. First, examine the situation, the external circumstances that set the stage for overthinking. This includes not just what's happening, but when and where it occurs, who else is involved, and what activities or tasks you're engaged in at the time. 2. Next, tune into your feelings during these episodes. Notice both the physical sensations in your body and your emotional responses. Pay attention to your energy levels and any stress indicators that might appear. These bodily signals often activate before you're consciously aware that you're sliding into overthinking. 3. Finally, observe the thought pattern, the story you're telling yourself. What themes keep recurring in your mental narrative? How does your self-talk shift during these episodes? Notice whether your thoughts project anxiously into the future or replay past events repeatedly. Understanding these patterns helps you recognize overthinking earlier in the cycle when it's easier to redirect. The role of uncertainty. One thing that consistently emerges in research about overthinking is its relationship with uncertainty. A recent study found that people who have a low tolerance for uncertainty are more likely to engage in excessive overthinking. Eisen et al., 2024. Think about it. When was the last time you overthought something you were completely certain about? Probably never. It's the unknown that sends our minds into speculation overdrive. But here's the paradox. Overthinking doesn't actually reduce uncertainty. Instead, it often increases our anxiety about uncertainty by keeping our focus fixed on what we don't know rather than what we do know. Your first step, the awareness pause. Before we dive into specific strategies in the coming chapters, I want to introduce you to one powerful tool you can start using immediately, the awareness pause. The next time you notice yourself spinning in thoughts, try this simple but powerful practice. 1. Take a deep breath. 2. Name what's happening. I'm overthinking right now. 3. Ask yourself, is this thought pattern helping me or hurting me? This creates a crucial moment of separation between you and your overthinking. It's like stepping back from that spinning cat's tail chase and observing it from a distance. Chapter takeaways. Overthinking activates the same brain regions as physical pain. The difference between productive thinking and overthinking lies in their outcomes and energy patterns. Common drivers of overthinking include evolutionary heritage, pattern-seeking behavior, perfectionism, and learned responses. Understanding your personal triggers is crucial for breaking the overthinking cycle. Uncertainty plays a key role in triggering overthinking episodes. The awareness pause technique can help create distance from overthinking patterns. In the next chapter, we'll explore practical strategies for decluttering your mental space, making room for clearer, more productive thinking. Get ready to learn how to give your mind some breathing room. Chapter 3. Decluttering your mental space. The mind is like a room. If you never clean it, eventually you won't be able to find anything useful in there. Marie Kondo. Picture your smartphone storage when it hits 99% capacity. Everything slows down. Apps freeze. Simple tasks become frustrating ordeals. That's exactly what happens to our minds when they're cluttered with unfinished tasks, digital notifications, and emotional baggage. We're trying to run high-performance software on a maxed-out system. I learned this lesson the hard way during my early days as a leadership trainer. I was juggling multiple training sessions, client meetings, and family responsibilities, all while maintaining an inbox zero email policy that was, frankly, driving me crazy. My to-do list had to-do lists. I was constantly switching between tasks, thinking this made me more productive. Instead, I felt like a computer with too many browser tabs open. Everything was running, but nothing was running well. The mental clutter detox. Let's start with a simple truth. Your brain isn't designed to be a storage unit. Yet, that's exactly how most of us use it. We stuff it full of unfinished tasks that nag at our consciousness, emotional reactions we haven't processed, lists we're trying to remember, decisions we need to make, conversations we need to have, ideas we want to explore. Research has shown that this mental clutter doesn't just sit there passively. It actively depletes our cognitive resources. Sander, 2019. Each unresolved item in our mental space acts like a small program running in the background of our computer, slowly draining our processing power. The solution isn't to get better at juggling all these items. It's to get better at clearing them out. Think of it like spring cleaning for your mind. Sometimes you need to empty everything out, sort through what's actually important, and create new systems to keep things organized moving forward. This is where the external brain system comes in, a method I've developed through years of working with overwhelmed professionals who needed a reliable way to clear their mental clutter. The external brain system. One of the most effective methods I've found is what I call the external brain system. The concept is simple. Get everything out of your head and into a reliable external system. This isn't just about making to-do lists. It's about creating a trusted system for capturing and processing all the mental clutter that accumulates throughout your day. Here's how to build your external brain. 1. Capture everything. Use a notes app or notebook to record every task, idea, or concern that crosses your mind. Don't try to organize them yet. Just get them out of your head. 2. Process regularly. Set aside time each day to review these items and decide what needs to be done with them. Some will need action. Others can be archived or deleted. 3. Create clear categories. Separate your items into distinct buckets. Actions, reference, waiting for, and someday/maybe. 4. Schedule decision time. Block out specific times for making decisions about the items you've captured. This prevents decision fatigue and helps you maintain momentum. When you consistently implement this system, you'll notice something remarkable. Your mind becomes quieter, clearer, and more focused. It's like upgrading from a cluttered desk covered in sticky notes to a clean workspace with a well-organized filing system. But just as we're organizing our mental tasks, there's another major source of clutter we need to address: our digital world. The digital overload factor. Here's a startling statistic. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes of our waking hours, Ashurian, 2019. Each check represents a potential interruption to our thought process, a new piece of information to process, another item added to our mental load. The problem isn't just the quantity of information. It's the way digital overload has rewired our brains to expect constant stimulation. We've become mental channel surfers, rarely sitting with one thought long enough to fully process it. Digital detox strategies that actually work. Instead of suggesting you abandon all technology, let's be realistic. Here's some practical strategies to manage digital overload. Create digital boundaries. Designate specific times for checking emails and messages. Use Do Not Disturb settings during focused work. Remove social media apps from your home screen. Practice information triage. Remember that not everything needs immediate attention. Use the 2-minute rule. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. If not, schedule it. Unsubscribe ruthlessly from unnecessary information sources. By implementing these digital boundaries and triage practices, you'll start to feel a shift in your relationship with technology. Instead of being at the mercy of every notification and alert, you become the master of your digital environment. This mastery creates space for something even more valuable: actual mental breathing room. Creating mental breathing room. Imagine your thoughts as guests at a party. Right now, they're all talking at once in a crowded room. Creating mental breathing room is like moving that party to a spacious garden where conversations can happen one at a time, with space to breathe between them. The power of single tasking. Despite what we've been led to believe, multitasking isn't a superpower. It's a productivity killer. Research shows that heavy multitaskers are actually less productive than those who focus on one task at a time. Bates, 2018. They're also more susceptible to irrelevant environmental stimuli, making them more likely to get distracted. The solution? Embrace single tasking. Here's how. 1. Work in focused 25-minute blocks. 2. Keep only one browser tab open when possible. 3. Complete one task before moving to the next. 4. Take regular breaks between tasks. When you commit to single tasking, you might initially feel like you're working slower. But give it time. You'll soon discover that you're actually completing tasks more efficiently and with better quality. This focused approach naturally creates pockets of mental space throughout your day, which we can further enhance through mindful awareness. Mindfulness pauses. You don't need to become a meditation guru to benefit from mindfulness. Start with what I call micro-mindfulness moments. The 3-breath reset. Take 3 conscious breaths between tasks. The sensory scan. Briefly notice what you can see, hear, and feel. The mental screenshot. Pause to fully notice what you're doing right now. These brief pauses act like mental cleansing breaths, clearing out stale thoughts and making room for fresh ones. Simple breathing exercises for instant mental space. When your mind feels cluttered, your breath is always available as a tool for creating space. Here's a simple technique I teach to executives who need to clear their heads between meetings. 1. Breathe in for a count of 4. 2. Hold for a count of 2. 3. Exhale for a count of 6. 4. Repeat 3 times. This 4-2-6 pattern activates your parasympathetic nervous system, naturally calming your mind and creating mental space. As you practice these techniques, you'll develop a new relationship with your mental space. Like a well-maintained garden, your mind will become a place where thoughts can grow and flourish rather than a cluttered storage unit where ideas get lost. Remember, the goal isn't to empty your mind completely. It's to create enough space for your thoughts to breathe and your creativity to flow. Chapter Takeaways. Mental clutter isn't just an inconvenience. It's a significant barrier to clear thinking and effective decision-making. By implementing the external brain system, managing digital overload, and creating regular mental breathing room through single tasking and mindfulness, you could transform your mental space from a crowded, chaotic environment into a clear, productive workspace. Remember these key points. Mental clutter accumulates from unprocessed tasks, emotions, and digital overload. Creating an external brain system helps free up mental space. Digital boundaries and information triage are essential for managing overload. Single tasking is more effective than multitasking for maintaining mental clarity. Regular mindfulness pauses and breathing exercises can create instant mental space. The 4-2-6 breathing pattern is a practical tool for clearing mental clutter. Now that you've learned how to create mental space, you're ready for the next crucial step, making better decisions. In Chapter 4, we'll explore the 3-step decision-making formula that can transform your approach to choices, both big and small. With your newly decluttered mental space, you'll be perfectly positioned to implement these powerful decision-making strategies. Chapter 4. Mastering the 3-step decision-making formula. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Friedrich Nietzsche. Last week, I was having coffee with Laura, a brilliant emergency room physician. She can make split-second decisions that literally save lives. Yet she'd spent 3 weeks agonizing over whether to buy a new car or repair her old one. "I don't understand," she told me, frustration evident in her voice. "Why can I decide on complex medical procedures in seconds, but I'm paralyzed by these everyday choices?" Laura's situation perfectly illustrates a fascinating paradox of decision-making. The more time we have to make a decision, the harder it often becomes. This isn't just a coincidence. It's a direct result of how our brains process choices and manage mental energy. The hidden cost of decision fatigue. Think of your decision-making ability as a muscle. Just like your physical muscles, it has limited energy before it needs rest. Each decision you make, from what to wear in the morning to which strategy to pursue at work, depletes this mental energy. Scientists call this phenomenon decision fatigue, and it's one of the primary drivers of overthinking. Research from Columbia University revealed that judges were significantly more likely to give favorable rulings at the beginning of the day or right after their lunch break than later in their sessions. Danziger et al., 2011. Why? Because decision fatigue had set in, making them more likely to default to the safe option of maintaining the status quo. What's particularly fascinating about decision fatigue is how it manifests differently across various domains of our lives. In my work with clients, I've observed that decision fatigue often hits hardest in areas where we feel we have the most to lose. For instance, Mark, a successful venture capitalist, could make million-dollar investment decisions with relative ease, but would spend hours agonizing over his children's summer camp options. The emotional weight we attach to certain decisions can amplify the effects of decision fatigue, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of overthinking. The overthinking spiral. When we're experiencing decision fatigue, three things typically happen. We become more resistant to making any choice at all. We start looking for perfect solutions that don't exist, and we begin second-guessing decisions we've already made. This creates what I call the decision drain cycle. Mental energy depletes as we analyze options. Depleted energy makes decisions harder. Harder decisions lead to more analysis, and more analysis further depletes mental energy. The insidious nature of this cycle lies in its ability to masquerade as thoroughness. Many of my clients initially pride themselves on their detailed analysis, not realizing that beyond a certain point, more information actually impairs decision quality rather than improving it. Emma, a marketing executive, once spent 2 weeks researching coffee makers, reading hundreds of reviews, and comparing dozens of models. When she finally made a purchase, she felt less confident in her choice than if she had spent just an hour researching her top 3 options. Breaking this cycle requires a systematic approach to decision-making, one that preserves mental energy while ensuring we make choices we can trust. This is where the 3-step formula comes in. The 3-step formula for quick decisions. Through years of working with executives, healthcare professionals, and educators, I've developed a straightforward formula that cuts through the noise and gets to the heart of effective decision-making. I call it the Success Time Action (STA) approach. Step 1. Define what success looks like. The biggest mistake most people make when facing a decision is jumping straight into comparing options. Instead, start by asking yourself, when I look back on this decision in the future, what would make me feel it was successful? For example, when I was helping Laura with her car decision, we first defined her success criteria. Reliable transportation for at least 5 years, monthly costs under $400, good safety features, and minimal stress about maintenance. Notice that these criteria are specific, but not overly rigid. They give direction without demanding perfection. Step 2. Set a time frame. Decision-making expert Gerd Gigerenzer from the Max Planck Institute found that setting strict time boundaries improves the quality of our decisions. Gigerenzer, indeed. When we give ourselves unlimited time, we tend to gather excessive information that clouds rather than clarifies our thinking. For major life decisions, career changes, relationships, etc., give yourself no more than 30 days. For medium decisions, purchases over $1,000, vacation planning, limit it to 7 days. For smaller decisions, daily tasks, routine choices, aim for 10 minutes or less. Step 3. Take decisive action. Once you've defined success and set your time frame, it's time to act. This is where most people get stuck, waiting for absolute certainty that never comes. Remember, action beats analysis when it comes to decision-making. I teach my clients the 90% rule. If you're 90% confident in a choice, make it. That remaining 10% of uncertainty isn't worth the mental energy it would take to resolve it. Understanding decision environments. One crucial aspect of effective decision-making that often gets overlooked is the role of environment. Just as athletes perform better in certain conditions, our decision-making capabilities are significantly influenced by our surroundings. I worked with a CEO who made all his major decisions in a specific corner of his office, facing away from his computer and phone. He had intuitively created what I now call a decision sanctuary, a space specifically designed for clear thinking and decisive action. Creating your own decision sanctuary doesn't require a corner office or elaborate setup. What matters is establishing conditions that support focused thinking and minimize distractions. This might mean finding a quiet spot in your home, taking a walk in nature, or simply closing your email for an hour. The key is consistency. Using the same space or conditions for important decisions helps train your brain to shift into decision-making mode more efficiently. The role of timing in decision-making. While we've discussed time frames for different types of decisions, it's equally important to understand your personal decision-making rhythms. After working with hundreds of clients, I've observed that most people have optimal windows for different types of decisions. Some people make their best analytical decisions early in the morning, while others find their judgment sharpest in the evening hours. Monica, a chief financial officer, discovered that she made her most balanced decisions between 10 a.m. and noon. She began scheduling all her major financial reviews during this window, leading to more confident choices and less second-guessing. Understanding and working with your natural decision-making rhythms can significantly reduce the mental energy required for choices. Maintaining forward momentum, the art of non-revision. Perhaps the most challenging part of decision-making isn't making the choice, it's sticking with it. I call this non-revision, and it's a crucial skill for preventing decision fatigue and overthinking. The implementation mindset. Once you've made a decision, immediately shift into implementation mode. This means documenting your decision and the reasoning behind it, creating specific action steps, and focusing all energy on moving forward, not looking back. Think of it like driving a car. You need to check your mirrors occasionally, but if you spend too much time looking backward, you'll crash. The same principle applies to decisions. When second-guessing strikes, it's normal for doubts to arise after making a decision. When they do, try this three-part response. 1. Acknowledge the doubt. I notice I'm having second thoughts. 2. Recall your success criteria. I made this choice based on specific criteria. 3. Redirect to action. What's the next step I need to take to implement this decision? This approach helps you process the doubt without getting stuck in it. Remember, second-guessing usually comes from our desire for certainty in an inherently uncertain world. Cultivating decision intelligence. As you practice the three-step formula and become more aware of your decision-making patterns, you'll develop what I call decision intelligence, the ability to match your decision-making approach to the specific demands of each situation. This means knowing when to apply rigorous analysis and when to trust your intuition, when to gather more information, and when to act on what you already know. Think of decision intelligence as a skilled driver who knows exactly how to adjust their driving style for different road conditions. Sometimes, you need to proceed carefully, testing each step. Other times, you need to accelerate confidently through changing circumstances. The key is developing the wisdom to know which approach serves you best in each situation. Practical application, the decision journal. One tool I've found invaluable for both making and maintaining decisions is keeping a decision journal. This doesn't need to be elaborate. A simple notebook where you record the decision you need to make, your success criteria, your time frame, the choice you made, and brief notes on your reasoning. This journal serves two purposes. It helps clarify your thinking in the moment, and it provides valuable feedback on your decision-making process over time. When Laura started keeping a decision journal, she discovered that her quick, medical decisions weren't actually faster. They just felt that way because she had clear criteria and trusted protocols to follow. The power of progressive decision-making. As you practice this three-step formula, you'll develop what I call progressive decision-making, the ability to make choices that build on each other rather than constantly starting from scratch. Each decision becomes a building block for future choices, creating momentum and confidence over time. Think of it like building a wall. Each brick decision supports the ones that come after it. The more solid your foundation, the easier it becomes to add new bricks. This is the opposite of overthinking, where we constantly question the entire wall structure every time we add a new brick. Chapter takeaways. Remember these key ideas. Decision fatigue is real and must be managed. The three-step formula provides structure without rigidity. Forward momentum matters more than perfect choices. Documentation helps prevent second-guessing. Each decision builds capacity for better future decisions. As you move into Chapter 5, where we'll tackle the challenge of quieting your inner critic, keep practicing this decision-making formula. You'll find that having a reliable process for making choices creates a foundation of confidence that makes it easier to handle self-doubt and criticism constructively. Chapter 5. Quieting your inner critic. The worst enemy to creativity is self-doubt, Sylvia Plath. During a leadership workshop last spring, I asked participants to write down their inner critic's favorite phrases. As people began sharing, the room grew unusually quiet. A senior executive named Michael, known for his confident demeanor, spoke up first. "You're not prepared enough. Everyone will see through you." Others nodded in recognition. By the end of the exercise, we had filled 3 whiteboards with variations of the same theme. Harsh internal dialogues that none of us would ever direct at another person, yet we routinely inflict upon ourselves. What struck me most wasn't just the similarity of these internal messages, but the visceral reaction in the room as each person recognized their own private thoughts echoed in others' words. Clara, a successful entrepreneur, later told me she felt tears well up when someone shared the exact phrase that had haunted her for years. "You don't deserve this success." The universality of these experiences reveals something profound about how we relate to ourselves and our achievements. This inner critic, that persistent voice of self-doubt and judgment, isn't just an occasional nuisance. It's often the engine that drives our overthinking, pushing us to analyze and reanalyze every decision, action, and interaction until we're mentally exhausted. Its influence extends far beyond momentary self-doubt, shaping our choices, relationships, and the very trajectory of our lives. The roots of self-doubt. To quiet your inner critic, you first need to understand where it came from. Think of self-doubt as a defense mechanism that got too good at its job. An overprotective parent who never adjusted their level of caution as their child grew up. This mechanism, while often frustrating, developed for important reasons. The evolutionary perspective. From an evolutionary standpoint, self-doubt served a crucial purpose. Our ancestors who carefully questioned their abilities and decisions were more likely to survive than those who charged ahead blindly. This cautious approach was particularly valuable in a world where mistakes could be fatal. Consider early humans facing decisions about exploring new territory or trying unfamiliar foods. Those who proceeded with caution were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. But here's the fascinating part. Research shows that our brains haven't fully adapted to modern circumstances. Abdul-Ghaffar et al., 2024. We're still running ancient survival software in an environment that requires innovation, creativity, and calculated risk-taking. This mismatch between our evolutionary programming and current needs creates a unique challenge. The same mental mechanisms that once protected us from physical dangers now often hold us back from emotional and professional growth. The implications of this evolutionary lag are profound. When you feel intense self-doubt before giving a presentation, your brain is essentially treating public speaking as if it were a life or death situation. Understanding this can help us approach our inner critic with more compassion. It's not trying to sabotage us. It's trying to protect us, albeit with outdated tools. The formation years. Our specific patterns of self-doubt often take shape during what psychologists call our critical periods of development. Smith, 2006. These are usually early childhood, ages 3 to 7, early adolescence, ages 11 to 14, and young adulthood, ages 18 to 25. Each period contributes uniquely to how our inner critic develops and operates. During early childhood, we develop our basic sense of competence and worth. This is when we first learn to evaluate ourselves against external standards and begin internalizing others' expectations. I worked with a CEO who realized his persistent fear of public speaking stemmed from a kindergarten play where he forgot his lines. The shame he felt in that moment, amplified by his parents' disappointment, created a deep-seated belief about his abilities that affected him for decades. The early adolescent period proves particularly crucial because it coincides with our growing capacity for abstract thinking and social comparison. This is when our inner critic often develops its most sophisticated weapons. Take Rachel, a talented architect who traced her perfectionism to her middle school years. As one of the few girls in advanced math, she felt she had to prove herself constantly. One wrong answer felt like confirmation I didn't belong, she explained. That pressure to be perfect became her inner critic's favorite tool. Young adulthood brings another critical phase, as we establish our professional and personal identities. I once worked with a brilliant researcher who traced her perfectionist inner critic back to a single moment in her undergraduate years when a professor criticized her project in front of the class. That one experience created a neural pathway that strengthened over time, becoming her default way of thinking about her work. The timing was particularly impactful because it occurred just as she was forming her professional identity. What makes these periods so influential is our brain's heightened plasticity during these times. We're literally more susceptible to forming lasting neural patterns based on our experiences. Recent neuroscience research has shown that emotional experiences during these critical periods create stronger neural connections than similar experiences at other times in our lives. Tottenham, 2014. It's like writing in wet cement versus trying to carve in a hardened concrete. The impressions made during these formative years tend to set more deeply and permanently. Understanding self-efficacy, Bandura's revolutionary insight. In the 1970s, psychologist Albert Bandura introduced a concept that would revolutionize our understanding of self-doubt. Self-efficacy, Lopez Garrido, 2023. This isn't just another term for self-confidence. It's something more specific and, importantly, more manageable. While his research began in treating phobias, its applications have proven transformative across all areas of human performance and personal growth. Self-efficacy is your belief in your ability to execute specific tasks and handle particular situations. It's domain-specific, which means you might have high self-efficacy in your professional life, but low self-efficacy in social situations or vice versa. This specificity is what makes it such a powerful tool for combating overthinking and self-doubt. I witnessed the transformative power of this concept while working with Marcus, a talented sales executive who excelled in one-on-one client meetings but froze during team presentations. At first glance, this seemed paradoxical. Both situations involved communicating with others about the same topics. However, through the lens of self-efficacy, we could see that these were distinct domains requiring different types of mastery. Understanding self-efficacy's domain-specific nature helps explain why even highly accomplished individuals can struggle with self-doubt in particular areas. Take Dr. Chun, a renowned surgeon who could perform complex procedures with unwavering confidence, but felt completely inadequate when it came to public speaking at medical conferences. Her surgical self-efficacy was rock solid, built through years of successful experiences, while her public speaking self-efficacy remained underdeveloped. The 4 pillars of self-efficacy. Bandura identified 4 primary sources of self-efficacy, and understanding each one provides specific pathways for building our confidence and capabilities. Let's explore how each pillar works in practice and how we can deliberately strengthen them. The first and most powerful source is mastery experiences. Successfully completing tasks builds confidence in your abilities. However, the key isn't just achievement. It's how we interpret and internalize these experiences. I work with a software developer who had successfully launched several projects but discounted each success as just luck or the team carrying me. We had to deliberately work on recognizing and integrating these experiences as genuine demonstrations of his capability. Vicarious experiences form the second pillar, where seeing others similar to you succeed increases belief in your own capabilities. This explains why representation matters so much in professional and personal development. When Emily, an aspiring entrepreneur from a small town, joined a networking group of successful female business owners from similar backgrounds, her belief in her own potential skyrocketed. Their success stories weren't just inspiring. They were proof that someone like her could succeed. Social persuasion, the third pillar, works through encouragement and support from others. However, not all encouragement is equally effective. Generic praise like "you're so talented" actually does little to build self-efficacy. Instead, specific feedback that links efforts to outcomes proves most powerful. When mentoring junior executives, I always focus on identifying exact behaviors and decisions that led to positive results. The fourth pillar involves managing emotional and physiological states, which influence how we judge our capabilities. This goes beyond just staying positive. It's about understanding how our physical and emotional state affects our self-perception and performance. A corporate lawyer I worked with discovered that her self-doubt peaked when she was sleep-deprived, leading us to develop specific strategies for managing high-stakes situations during periods of fatigue. Understanding these pillars gives us a practical framework for strengthening our resistance to self-doubt. Instead of trying to eliminate your inner critic entirely, which isn't realistic or even desirable, you can build up your self-efficacy as a counterweight. The goal is to create a strong foundation of proven capability that can stand firm against the winds of self-doubt. Reframing negative thoughts, the art of mental editing. Imagine your thoughts as the first draft of a story. Just as no writer publishes their first draft without editing, you shouldn't accept your first draft thoughts as final. This is where reframing comes in. It's the art of mental editing. This process requires both skill and practice, but its impact on our mental well-being can be profound. When we first encounter a negative thought, it often feels like an absolute truth. I'm not good enough for this promotion, or I'll never figure this out, can seem like solid, immutable facts rather than what they really are. Interpretations of reality filtered through our fears and past experiences. The art of reframing helps us see these thoughts for what they are and craft more accurate, helpful interpretations. The edit method. I've developed what I call the edit method for reframing negative thoughts. The method provides a structured approach to challenging and reshaping our internal dialogue. The first step, examine, involves looking at the thought with curiosity rather than judgment. When Lisa, a marketing executive, thought I'm terrible at public speaking, we examined this belief like scientists studying an interesting specimen. What evidence supported this thought? What evidence contradicted it? This objective examination often reveals that our harshest self-judgments don't stand up to scrutiny. Detect focuses on identifying cognitive distortions, those predictable ways our minds twist reality. Common distortions include all-or-nothing thinking. If I'm not perfect, I'm a failure. Overgeneralization. I messed up once, so I'll always mess up. And catastrophizing. If I make a mistake, my career is over. Understanding these patterns helps us recognize when our thinking has gone awry. The investigation phase explores alternative perspectives and interpretations. This isn't about forced positivity, but finding more accurate and helpful ways to view situations. When David, a software engineer, thought everyone else understands this immediately, we investigated what everyone and immediately really meant in this context. Usually, it turned out that everyone was actually a few specific colleagues, and immediately included time spent studying and asking questions. Finally, test involves trying out new frames and seeing how they fit. Like trying on clothes, not every reframe works for every person or situation. The goal is to find perspectives that feel both true and helpful. These new frames should acknowledge real challenges while maintaining hope and agency. The power of precision. One key aspect of reframing is being more precise with our internal language. Instead of broad, sweeping criticisms, "I'm bad at this," practice using more specific and actionable language. "This particular task is challenging for me right now." This precision serves multiple purposes. It makes the situation feel more manageable, highlights areas where we can take action, and prevents our minds from generalizing specific challenges into global judgments about our worth or capability. Working with a junior attorney, we transformed her vague worry, "I'm not cut out for this," into the more precise, "I need more experience with contract negotiation." This simple shift in language changed her entire approach to the situation, from a judgment about her inherent abilities to a clear development area she could address. Building a kinder inner dialogue. The goal isn't to eliminate your inner critic. After all, it serves a purpose in keeping you motivated and maintaining standards. Instead, we want to transform it from a harsh dictator into a wise mentor. This requires practicing what I call conscious self-talk, a deliberate approach to internal dialogue that balances growth with compassion. Think of your inner dialogue as a conversation between different parts of yourself. Just as you wouldn't let a friend speak to you with constant criticism and judgment, you can learn to moderate your internal voice. This doesn't mean silencing all critical thoughts. Some degree of self-evaluation is necessary for growth. Instead, it's about changing the tone and content of these thoughts to be more constructive. The 3 voices exercise. Through my work with clients, I've identified 3 distinct voices we all possess: the critic, the nurturer, and the coach. Each serves a purpose, but most of us have an overdeveloped critic and an underdeveloped nurturer and coach. The critic focuses on flaws and risks, stemming from our evolutionary need to spot dangers and avoid mistakes. While this voice can help us maintain standards and identify areas for improvement, it often becomes overly harsh and counterproductive. Anna, a successful artist, realized her critic had become so loud that it was actually preventing her from taking creative risks that could advance her career. The nurturer offers compassion and support, reminding us of our inherent worth beyond our achievements or mistakes. This voice helps us maintain emotional resilience in the face of challenges. Many of my clients initially resist this voice, seeing it as weak or indulgent. However, research shows that self-compassion actually enhances motivation and performance more effectively than self-criticism. Pace, 2016. The coach provides balanced, constructive feedback focused on growth and improvement. This voice combines the discernment of the critic with the support of the nurturer. It can acknowledge mistakes while maintaining a focus on learning and development. Think of how a skilled sports coach points out areas for improvement while maintaining belief in the athlete's potential. Learning to engage these different voices takes practice. When you notice critical self-talk, pause and consciously shift to a different voice. Ask yourself, what would my nurturing voice say about this? What balanced perspective would my coaching voice offer? What advice would I give a friend in this situation? Creating your self-talk blueprint. Just as we developed the decision journal in the last chapter, creating a self-talk blueprint provides a structured way to transform your inner dialogue. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about developing a more nuanced and helpful way of processing experiences and challenges. Start by recording your most common critical thoughts. Notice their patterns, triggers, and impact. Then, develop compassionate responses that acknowledge both the concern and your capability to handle it. Create specific prompts that help you shift from criticism to coaching. Practice these new responses daily, treating them like a muscle that strengthens with use. This process takes time and patience. Marina, a finance executive, kept a small notebook where she recorded her critical thoughts and practiced reframing them. At first, it felt mechanical and forced, but over time, she found herself naturally catching negative self-talk and redirecting it more constructively. It's like I've developed a new language for talking to myself, she explained. The practice of self-compassion. Dr. Kristen Neff's research on self-compassion has revolutionized our understanding of how to build a healthier relationship with ourselves. Neff, 2024. Her work identifies 3 key components that work together to create a more balanced and supportive inner dialogue. First is self-kindness versus self-judgment. This doesn't mean excusing mistakes or lowering standards. It means responding to difficulties with understanding and support instead of harsh criticism. When Thomas, a senior manager, made a significant error in a client presentation, his initial response was brutal self-condemnation. Through practice, he learned to acknowledge the mistake while maintaining a supportive inner dialogue that helped him learn and move forward. The second component, common humanity versus isolation, reminds us that struggles and setbacks are part of the shared human experience. We often feel uniquely flawed or inadequate when we're caught in self-criticism. Recognizing that everyone faces similar challenges helps break the cycle of isolation that intensifies self-doubt. The third element, mindfulness versus over-identification, involves maintaining an aware presence with our experiences without becoming consumed by them. This means neither suppressing difficult emotions nor getting lost in them. It's about finding the middle path between avoidance and overwhelm. When you combine these elements with strong self-efficacy and skilled reframing, you create what I call resilient self-talk, internal dialogue that can withstand challenges while maintaining a growth-oriented perspective. Think of it like developing an emotional immune system. You're not trying to avoid all negative thoughts, just as you wouldn't want to avoid all germs, but building robust internal resources to process them constructively. Chapter takeaways. As we close this chapter, remember that quieting your inner critic isn't about silencing it completely. It's about adjusting its volume and tone to be helpful rather than harmful. This balanced approach allows you to maintain high standards while treating yourself. Remember these key insights. Self-doubt has deep evolutionary and personal roots. Self-efficacy provides a framework for building confidence. Reframing thoughts is a skill that can be developed. Multiple inner voices serve different purposes. Self-compassion strengthens emotional resilience. The journey to a kinder inner dialogue is ongoing. But with these tools and consistent practice, you can transform your inner critic from a harsh judge into a supportive ally. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to transform this kinder inner dialogue into focused, productive action. You'll discover why overthinking kills productivity and, more importantly, how to break free from the paralysis of analysis. Get ready to learn the reset method, a comprehensive approach that will help you reclaim your focus and transform overthinking into purposeful action. Chapter 6. The Productivity Reset. The greatest enemy of good thinking is busyness. Shane Parrish. You sit down at your desk, ready to tackle that critical project. Your coffee is perfectly brewed, your workspace is organized, and you've blocked out 2 solid hours to make real progress. Then it happens. Your mind starts spinning. Am I approaching this the right way? Maybe I should research more first. What if I'm missing something crucial? Should I restructure the whole thing? 3 hours later, you've opened 20 browser tabs, started 3 different documents, and actually completed nothing. The irony isn't lost on you. In your quest to do this perfectly, you've accomplished precisely 0% of what you set out to do. Sound familiar? You're not alone. In my work with law executives, I've seen this pattern repeat itself countless times. Take Mia, a seasoned courtroom attorney who could deliver compelling arguments under intense pressure but found herself paralyzed when writing routine client emails. In court, I don't have time to overthink, she told me. But with everything else, my mind keeps spinning through every possible angle until I'm exhausted. What fascinated me about Mia's case wasn't just the contrast between her courtroom confidence and administrative paralysis. It was how this pattern revealed a fundamental truth about productivity and overthinking. In the courtroom, clear procedures and time pressure created natural boundaries for her thinking. Outside of it, the absence of these constraints left her vulnerable to the endless possibilities that fuel overthinking. The productivity paradox. How overthinking kills productivity. Here's a fascinating paradox. Overthinking often starts with a desire to be more productive. We want to do things well, consider all angles, and make the best possible choices. But somewhere along the way, this well-intentioned thoroughness transforms into a productivity killer. It's like trying to create the perfect photograph by never taking the lens cap off. All preparation, no execution. By trying to be more thorough, we end up making our minds work slower and less efficiently. It's as if we're installing a governor on our mental engine, limiting its performance in the name of control. The mechanism behind this productivity drain manifests in several interconnected ways. First comes the analysis paralysis loop, where instead of moving forward, our thoughts circle back on themselves. We question our approach, consider alternatives, feel uncertainty, and return to questioning again. Each loop consumes mental energy without producing tangible results. It's like revving your car's engine while in neutral. You're using fuel, but you're not going anywhere. I saw this pattern clearly with Marcus, a talented software developer who would spend hours refining his code structure before writing a single line. I want to get it right from the start, he'd explain. not realizing that his pursuit of the perfect architecture was preventing him from discovering what the code actually needed through the process of writing it. This mental spinning doesn't just slow us down, it actively fragments our attention. Every time we spiral into an overthinking session, we're dividing our mental resources between the actual task, our concerns about the task, our meta-analysis of our concerns, and our emotional response to all of the above. Imagine trying to drive while simultaneously reading a map, checking your phone, and having an intense conversation. Something's got to give. Perhaps most insidiously, overthinking creates what I call the energy drain spiral. The more we overthink, the more mentally exhausted we become. The more exhausted we are, the harder it is to make decisions and take action. This leads to more overthinking, continuing the cycle. It's a pattern I've seen countless times in my work, and breaking free requires a systematic approach. The reset method, reclaiming your focus. Through years of working with overthinkers, I've developed what I call the reset method, a comprehensive approach to breaking free from overthinking and reclaiming productivity. Let's explore each component in detail. Restrict your options. The first element is restricting your options. Are you familiar with Barry Schwartz's famous paradox of choice? More options often make decisions harder, not easier. 2004. I worked with a marketing executive who would spend hours agonizing over email campaigns, testing dozens of subject lines and countless image variations. We implemented a simple rule: limit options to 3 versions, set clear parameters for what done looks like, and save perfectionist tweaks for after the initial launch. Her team's productivity doubled within a month. This principle extends beyond decision-making. When Pam, a research scientist, found herself overwhelmed by the possible approaches to her latest study, we created what I call decision boundaries, specific criteria that automatically eliminate certain options. This wasn't about limiting creativity, but creating a focused space where meaningful work could happen. Establish time blocks. Next comes establishing time blocks. Time should become a container for your work, not a source of pressure. I teach clients to use what I call the Focused 45 technique. The concept is simple but powerful. Work for 45 minutes, then take a 15-minute break. The key is treating these blocks as sacred spaces where you focus solely on production, not evaluation. Save all refinements and revisions for designated review periods. The psychology behind this approach is fascinating. Research shows that our brains naturally cycle through periods of high focus and recovery. Drexel University, 2024. By aligning our work patterns with these natural rhythms, we can maintain higher levels of productivity while reducing the tendency to overthink. It's like surfing. Instead of fighting the waves, we learn to ride them. Single task systematically. Single task systematically follows as the third component. Multitasking isn't just inefficient, it's a gateway to overthinking. When we try to juggle multiple tasks, we create constant decision points about where to focus our attention. Instead, choose one specific task and one clear objective. Work on it until completion or until your time block ends. If concerns or new ideas arise during this time, document them for later review rather than addressing them immediately. This approach transformed how Wes, a financial analyst, handled his reports. Instead of trying to perfect each section as he went, he would complete an entire draft before allowing himself to revise. It's like the difference between writing and editing, he told me. You can't do both effectively at the same time. Evaluate with distance. The fourth element, evaluate with distance, creates what I call productive pause points. This structured approach to review and refinement prevents the constant second-guessing that plagues many overthinkers. Schedule specific times for evaluation and wait at least 24 hours before making major revisions to your work. This cooling-off period allows you to approach your work with fresh eyes and a clear mind. The science behind this approach is compelling. Studies in decision-making show that emotional distance improves our ability to evaluate options objectively. Fukukura et al., 2013. When we step back from our work, we activate different neural networks that help us see patterns and possibilities we might miss when we're too close to the details. Track your momentum. Finally, track your momentum completes the method. Remember Mia from earlier? She transformed her productivity by implementing a simple but powerful tracking system. Instead of focusing on what was left to do, she began recording every completed task, no matter how small. This shift in attention from future fears to present progress dramatically reduced her overthinking tendencies. The power of tracking lies not just in the data it provides, but in the story it tells. Seeing our progress visually creates what psychologists call a completion bias. Our brain's natural satisfaction in seeing things through to the end, Krakow, 2022. This satisfaction acts as a natural antidote to overthinking, pushing us toward action rather than endless analysis. Cultivating momentum, the power of small wins. One of the most effective antidotes to overthinking is momentum. But here's the key insight. Momentum doesn't start with big achievements. It begins with tiny victories. This understanding has transformed how I approach productivity with my clients. Research from Harvard Business School reveals that making progress in meaningful work is the single most important factor in boosting emotions, motivation, and perceptions during the workday, Amabel and Kramer, 2011. They call this the progress principle. But here's the fascinating part. The size of the progress doesn't matter nearly as much as its frequency. Small wins, accumulated consistently, create more sustainable momentum than occasional big victories. I witnessed this principle in action with Elena, a novelist who had been stuck on her book for months. Instead of trying to write perfect chapters, we broke her work into tiny, manageable tasks. Some days, she would just write a single scene or even just describe a character's appearance. These small completions built momentum that eventually carried her through to finishing her manuscript. This insight led me to develop what I call the 2-minute launchpad. The concept is simple. Choose the smallest possible starting point for your task and commit to working for just 2 minutes. Allow yourself to continue if you feel momentum, but if you stop, celebrate completing the 2 minutes. This approach works because it bypasses the overthinking brain's tendency to focus on the entire project. It's like tricking your mind into action before it has time to spin up its worry machine. Building your personal momentum map. Building on this foundation, we can create a personal momentum map. This isn't just another productivity tool. It's a customized approach to working with your natural rhythms and energy patterns. Start by identifying your peak energy times. For some people, like my client Nick, early morning provides crystal clear focus. For others, like Sarah, the quiet hours of late evenings spark creativity. The key is recognizing and leveraging these natural patterns rather than fighting against them. Creating your momentum map involves 3 key elements. First, track your energy levels and productivity patterns for at least 2 weeks. Notice when you naturally feel most focused, creative, or analytical. Document what types of tasks feel easiest or most challenging at different times of the day. Second, identify your trigger points, those moments when overthinking typically kicks in. Is it when you're tired? Hungry? After certain types of meetings or interactions? Understanding these patterns helps you prepare for and prevent productivity-killing overthinking sessions. Third, design your work schedule around these insights. Schedule your most important or challenging tasks during your peak energy periods. Plan simpler, more routine tasks for times when your energy naturally dips. Build in buffer zones around known trigger points to prevent overthinking from derailing your entire day. The compound effect of consistency cannot be overstated. Think of productivity like compound interest. Small, consistent actions build upon each other to create exponential results. This is what I call the productivity compound effect. When we make small, consistent progress, we build momentum and confidence. Each completed task, no matter how minor, strengthens our belief in our ability to handle bigger challenges. The science of productive flow. Recent neuroscience research has revealed fascinating insights about how our brains function during periods of high productivity. By Sudi, 2011. When we're in a state of flow, that magical condition where work feels effortless and time seems to disappear. Our brains actually consume less energy than when we're overthinking. This state of flow isn't just more pleasant, it's significantly more productive. Studies show that people in flow states can be up to 5 times more productive than when they're caught in overthinking loops. Kotler et al., 2022. The key is creating the conditions that make flow more likely while reducing the triggers that lead to overthinking. One crucial factor is what I call the challenge-skill balance. When a task is too easy, our minds wander into overthinking. When it's too difficult, we freeze up with anxiety. The sweet spot lies in tasks that stretch our abilities without overwhelming them. This is why breaking down complex projects into manageable chunks is so crucial. It helps us maintain this optimal balance. Your productivity reset action plan. The journey to reset your productivity begins with your morning launch. Instead of diving into email or getting lost in planning, choose your most important task, MIT, for the day. This isn't necessarily the biggest or most urgent task. It's the one that will create the most meaningful progress. Set a 2-minute starting point and establish your first focus block. As the day progresses, practice midday maintenance. This isn't about harsh self-evaluation, but gentle course correction. Check your progress without judgment, reset your focus if needed, and acknowledge the progress you've made. Remember, productivity isn't about perfection, it's about progress. End your day with an evening evaluation. Document what you've completed, set up tomorrow's launch pad, and take a moment to acknowledge your progress, no matter how small. This ritual creates closure for the day and sets you up for success tomorrow. Creating sustainable habits. The key to making these changes stick lies in what I call the implementation bridge, the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it consistently. This bridge is built from tiny habits and supportive routines that make productive behavior more automatic and overthinking less likely. Start with your environment. Clear your workspace of unnecessary items that might trigger overthinking. Keep only what you need for your current task visible. Use visual cues, such as a timer or progress tracker, to maintain focus on moving forward rather than getting lost in analysis. Develop specific triggers for your productive routines. Maybe a particular playlist signals it's time to focus, or a short breathing exercise helps you transition between tasks. These triggers become anchors for your new habits, making them more automatic and resistant to overthinking. Build in regular recovery periods. Just as athletes need rest between workouts, your brain needs time to recharge between focused work sessions. Use your breaks intentionally. Step away from your workspace, move your body, or engage in a completely different type of activity. Measuring progress and adjusting course. One common trap for overthinkers is getting too caught up in tracking and measuring their productivity efforts. While measurement is important, it shouldn't become another source of overthinking. Instead, focus on what I call progress indicators, simple, clear signs that you're moving in the right direction. These might include the following: tasks completed versus tasks planned, time spent in focused work versus overthinking, energy levels throughout the day, quality of work output, satisfaction with your progress. Review these indicators weekly, looking for patterns rather than perfection. Use this information to refine your approach, but don't let the review process itself become another outlet for overthinking. Remember that progress isn't linear. There will be days when overthinking gets the better of you, when productivity feels elusive, or when your best-laid plans go awry. This is normal and expected. The goal isn't to eliminate these challenges, but to build resilience and strategies for working through them. Chapter takeaways. As we conclude this chapter, remember that productivity isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters with clarity and purpose. The tools and strategies we've explored aren't just about getting more done. They're about freeing your mind from the burden of overthinking so you can focus on what truly matters. Overthinking creates a productivity paradox where striving for perfection actually reduces effectiveness. The reset method offers a structured approach to breaking free from analysis paralysis. Using focused time blocks helps contain overthinking and boost productivity. Single tasking systematically prevents the fragmentation of attention. Small wins, accumulated consistently, create more sustainable momentum than occasional big victories. Progress tracking shifts focus from future worries to present achievements. The 2-minute launch pad helps bypass initial overthinking resistance. Creating morning, midday, and evening rituals build sustainable productivity habits. Productivity is a practice to be developed, not a trait to be acquired. Progress, not perfection, should be your daily focus. In the next chapter, we'll explore the role of emotional resilience in managing overthinking. You'll discover powerful strategies for understanding your emotional triggers, building a stronger emotional foundation, and bouncing back from setbacks more effectively than. Chapter 7. Building Emotional Resilience. The oak fought the wind and was broken. The willow bent when it must and survived. Robert Jordan. Last month, I sat across from Mark, a talented software architect, as he described his response to a minor coding error that had briefly taken down his company's website. I spent the next week redesigning our entire system architecture, he told me, his voice tight with remembered anxiety. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the other things that could go wrong. Even after the new system was in place, I couldn't let it go. Mark's story illustrates a crucial truth about overthinking. It's not simply a mental habit. It's an emotional response to uncertainty and vulnerability. What appeared on the surface to be a technical problem was, at its core, an emotional challenge. The error had triggered deep-seated fears about competence, reliability, and control, leading to a cascade of overthinking that far outweighed the original issue. Understanding the emotional triggers of overthinking. Our emotions and thoughts are intertwined in ways that neuroscience is only beginning to fully understand. Recent research has revealed that emotional centers in our brain activate before our cognitive centers when we face challenges. Simic et al., 2021. In other words, we feel before we think. This biological reality has profound implications for how we handle overthinking. When we find ourselves caught in an overthinking spiral, we're often trying to solve emotional challenges with purely logical tools. It's like trying to fix a leaking pipe with a psychology textbook. We're using the wrong tool for the job. Through my work with clients across various industries, I've observed that overthinking typically clusters around 3 core emotional triggers. Fear of inadequacy, need for control, anticipation of judgment. These aren't just surface-level concerns. They're deep emotional patterns that often trace back to our earliest experiences of challenge and uncertainty. Take Julia, a high-achieving marketing director I worked with. Her overthinking wasn't really about marketing strategies or campaign metrics. It was triggered by a deep-seated fear that she wasn't truly qualified for her role. Every decision became an opportunity to prove her worth or expose her perceived inadequacy. Understanding this emotional foundation was crucial to helping her develop a healthier relationship with her thought processes. Strengthening your emotional foundation. Building emotional resilience isn't about eliminating these triggers. It's about developing a stronger foundation to handle them. Think of it as strengthening the roots of a tree. The winds of challenge and uncertainty will still blow, but with deeper roots, you're less likely to topple. The first step in this process is developing what I call emotional literacy, the ability to accurately identify and name our emotional states. This might sound simple, but it's a skill many of us never learned. When I ask clients what they're feeling in moments of overthinking, they often respond with what they're thinking instead. Here's a practical exercise I use with clients: the emotional weather report. Just as we can describe weather conditions in detail, partly cloudy, chance of rain, high winds, we can learn to describe our emotional state with greater precision. Instead of just saying stressed, we might recognize that we're feeling uncertain about our competence, anxious about others' judgments, and pressure by time constraints. This precision matters because different emotional states require different responses. The strategies that help with uncertainty might be very different from those that help with time pressure. When we can accurately identify our emotional weather, we can choose more effective responses. Beyond emotional literacy, we need to develop what I call emotional capacity, the ability to hold and process increasingly complex emotional experiences without becoming overwhelmed. This is where many traditional approaches to overthinking fall short. They focus on techniques for managing thoughts while ignoring the emotional foundation that generates those thoughts. To build emotional capacity, we start with small challenges and gradually work up to bigger ones, much like building physical strength. One effective method is the emotional edge practice, deliberately seeking out small uncertainties and sitting with the discomfort they generate. This might mean speaking up in a meeting when you're not 100% sure of your point, or making a decision with 80% of the information instead of waiting for 100%. Expecting and rebounding from setbacks. One of the most damaging myths about emotional resilience is that resilient people don't experience setbacks. The truth is quite the opposite. Resilient people experience just as many setbacks as anyone else. They just handle them differently. I learned this lesson vividly through my work with Katie, a physician who came to me struggling with perfectionism and overthinking. During our work together, she faced a significant setback when a patient complaint led to a formal review. Instead of seeing this as a catastrophe, Katie used what I call the resilience response protocol. First, she acknowledged the emotional impact without trying to minimize it. This is crucial. Resilience isn't about pretending setbacks don't hurt. It's about processing that hurt effectively. Next, she engaged in what we call productive reflection, examining the situation for learning while maintaining strict boundaries around rumination. The key difference between reflection and rumination is its purpose. Reflection aims to learn and improve, while rumination simply repeats the pain without purpose. Finally, she focused on what I call next step thinking, identifying the smallest possible productive action she could take in response to the setback. This approach prevents us from getting overwhelmed by the big picture while maintaining forward momentum. The real power of this protocol lies not in its individual steps, but in the mindset it creates. When we expect setbacks and have a systematic way to handle them, they lose their power to derail us. It's like having a well-practiced emergency procedure. The emergency might still be stressful, but we're not figuring out our response in the heat of the moment. Building this type of resilience requires regular practice in lower-stakes situations. Think of it as a mental fire drill. You don't want to wait until there's an actual fire to figure out how to use the emergency exits. This is why I encourage clients to practice their resilience response on small daily setbacks. A missed deadline, a critical comment, a rejected proposal. Consider my client David, a senior manager who used to spend days overthinking every piece of critical feedback he received. Through practicing emotional agility, he developed the ability to acknowledge his initial emotional response while maintaining enough mental space to choose his next steps deliberately. The feedback still stung, but it no longer sent him into an overthinking spiral. Chapter Takeaways. The goal isn't to become immune to setbacks, but to develop what I call emotional agility, the ability to respond to challenges with flexibility and wisdom rather than rigid overthinking. This agility comes from understanding that our emotional responses are information, not commands. They inform our decisions, but don't have to control them. Emotions and thoughts are intertwined. Addressing overthinking requires understanding both. The Emotional Weather Report helps identify precise emotional states for more effective responses. Building emotional capacity is like strengthening a muscle. It requires consistent practice. Emotional literacy enables us to choose more targeted responses to overthinking triggers. The Resilience Response Protocol provides a systematic approach to handling setbacks. Productive reflection differs from rumination in its focus on learning and growth. Next step thinking prevents overwhelm by maintaining manageable forward momentum. Emotional agility allows flexible responses rather than rigid overthinking patterns. Setbacks are opportunities to practice and strengthen resilience. Regular practice with small challenges builds capacity for handling larger ones. In the next chapter, We'll delve into how overthinking affects our relationships and discover practical strategies for stronger connections. You'll learn valuable techniques for maintaining healthy boundaries while deepening your relationships and transforming potential challenges into opportunities for growth and understanding. Chapter 8. Overthinking in Relationships. We see the world not as it is, but as we are. Anais, N-I-N. I think my colleague is mad at me, Jennifer told me during one of our coaching sessions. She took 3 hours to respond to my email, and her reply was just okay. She usually writes more. Maybe she's upset about that suggestion I made in the meeting last week. Or did I miss something important in her last project update? Jennifer, a talented project manager, had spent her entire lunch break analyzing these 2 characters of text, creating elaborate scenarios in her mind about their implications for her professional relationship. As she spoke, I noticed her shoulders tensing and her speech quickening, physical manifestations of the mental spiral she was experiencing. Jennifer managed complex projects worth millions of dollars with remarkable composure. Yet here she was undone by a single-word email response. The contrast was striking, but not uncommon among the high-achieving professionals I work with. This moment perfectly captures how overthinking can transform simple interactions into complex emotional labyrinths. What's fascinating is that Jennifer could seamlessly manage multi-million-dollar projects, yet a brief email exchange could send her into a spiral of interpretation and reinterpretation. This pattern reveals something profound about how our minds process professional versus personal interactions and why the latter often trigger more intense overthinking. The hidden cost of relational overthinking. When we overthink our relationships, we're not just spending mental energy, we're actually changing the relationships themselves. It's like constantly adjusting the focus on a camera. At some point, you're so busy tweaking the lens that you miss the moment you were trying to capture. The cost of this constant analysis extends far beyond just mental exhaustion. Research from the University of California's Relationship Studies program reveals something surprising. People who engage in excessive relationship analysis often create the very problems they're trying to prevent. Feeney and Collins, 2015. This phenomenon is called the relationship observer effect. The act of intensely observing and analyzing a relationship actually changes its natural dynamic. Think of it like trying to examine a butterfly by pinning it down. The very act of scrutiny changes what you're trying to understand. The implications of this effect are profound and far-reaching. When we overthink our interactions, we often create artificial distance in relationships that were previously natural and flowing, project our anxieties onto others' neutral behaviors, miss genuine connection opportunities while analyzing past interactions, develop defensive behaviors that prevent authentic engagement, exhaust ourselves and others with constant relationship maintenance. Consider what happens in your body when you overthink a relationship situation. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, and your breathing becomes shallow. This physical stress response then influences how you interact with others. Your attempt to analyze and control the relationship paradoxically makes you less present and authentic within it. I witnessed this with Amanda, a marketing director who prided herself on maintaining strong team relationships. She spent so much time analyzing her team's dynamics that she began experiencing anxiety symptoms before every meeting. "I'm constantly scanning for signs of discord or dissatisfaction," she admitted. "I've started dreading our usually enjoyable brainstorming sessions because I'm so focused on reading between the lines." Thomas, a sales executive I worked with, described it perfectly. "I spent so much time thinking about how to be natural with my team that I became the most unnatural version of myself." His overthinking had created a layer of self-consciousness that acted like an invisible barrier between him and authentic connection. The irony wasn't lost on him. His efforts to be more connected had actually created more distance. The neuroscience of relationship overthinking. Recent neuroscience research has revealed fascinating insights into why we're particularly prone to overthinking in relationships. Pinto et al., 2023. When we're uncertain about a social situation, our amygdala, the brain's emotional processing center, becomes hyperactive. This triggers what neuroscientists call the social threat response, similar to what our ancestors might have experienced when faced with physical dangers. Rock et al., 2018. This response made perfect sense in our evolutionary past, where social rejection could mean literal survival risk. However, in today's interconnected world, this same mechanism can become overactive, treating every ambiguous social interaction as a potential threat requiring intense analysis. Dr. Mitchell, a neuroscientist I collaborated with, explained it this way. When we overthink relationships, we're actually engaging ancient survival circuits in our brain. The same networks that once helped us avoid predators are now being activated by unanswered texts or ambiguous emails. Building balanced boundaries. The solution to relationship overthinking isn't to stop caring or withdraw. It's to create what I call permeable boundaries. Think of these boundaries like a cell membrane rather than a brick wall. They allow healthy exchange while maintaining structure and protection. This biological metaphor is particularly apt because, like cell membranes, good relationship boundaries are both protective and selective in what they allow to pass through. The art of building these boundaries involves 3 key elements, which I've discovered through years of working with clients. Each element requires careful calibration and regular maintenance, much like tending a garden. Too much or too little attention can disrupt the natural growth of relationships. The space between. Creating healthy space in relationships doesn't mean becoming distant. Instead, it means developing what psychologists call differentiation, the ability to maintain your own identity and emotional equilibrium while staying connected to others. This concept revolutionized how I approach relationship dynamics with clients. Maria, a healthcare administrator, transformed her work relationships when she learned to create what we call thought boundaries. Instead of taking responsibility for every team member's mood or reaction, she developed the ability to recognize where her responsibilities ended and others began. It's not that I care less, she explained. I just care more effectively. The transformation in Maria's leadership style was remarkable. She went from spending hours analyzing every team interaction to maintaining a healthy interest while preserving her own emotional energy. Her team noticed the difference, too. They reported feeling more empowered and less micromanaged. The clarity channel. Clear boundaries require clear communication, but overthinking often makes us overcomplicate our messages. We become so concerned about potential misinterpretations that we end up creating the very confusion we're trying to avoid. This paradox is something I've observed repeatedly in my work with executives and team leaders. I teach clients to use the Clear Channel Protocol, a straightforward approach to communicating boundaries. The protocol emphasizes the following: direct expression of needs and expectations, acknowledgement of the relationship's importance, specific proposals for maintaining connection, clear time frames and parameters, regular review and adjustment. This protocol helped Marco, a senior manager, transform his relationship with his team. Instead of spending hours crafting elaborate emails explaining his availability, he learned to say simply, "I need focused work time between 9 and 11 each morning, but I'm fully present for the team outside those hours." The simplicity and clarity of this communication actually strengthened his team relationships rather than damaging them as he had feared. Fostering deep communication. The irony of overthinking in relationships is that while we're trying to create deeper connections, we often end up with superficial ones because we're too caught up in our analysis to be truly present. The key to fostering genuine communication lies in what I call present-centered dialogue. This approach represents a fundamental shift from analytical to experiential interaction. Instead of trying to predict, control, or analyze the conversation, we focus on being fully present in the moment. This might sound simple, but for chronic overthinkers, it requires a complete rewiring of how they approach communication. The art of real listening. Real listening isn't about planning your response or analyzing every word. It's about creating a space where genuine understanding can emerge. This requires us to temporarily suspend our overthinking tendencies and simply be present with what's being shared. It's a skill that many of my highest achieving clients initially find challenging precisely because their analytical abilities have served them so well in other areas. I worked with a couple, both executives, who transformed their communication by practicing what we call the 3-breath rule. Before responding to each other, especially in challenging conversations, they would take 3 full breaths. This simple practice created space between thought and response, allowing for a more genuine connection. The impact of this practice went far beyond their relationship. Both reported improved communication with their teams, better client relationships, and reduced anxiety in social situations. The key was learning to trust the natural flow of conversation rather than trying to control it through analysis. The power of micro-moments. Research in relationship psychology shows that the strength of relationships often depends more on small, everyday interactions than on grand gestures or deep conversations. I call these micro-moments of connection brief instances of genuine presence and acknowledgement that build trust and understanding over time. Fredrickson, 2025. For overthinkers, learning to value these micro-moments can be transformative. Instead of analyzing every interaction for deeper meaning, they can focus on creating small, authentic connections throughout the day. This might include the following: a moment of eye contact and a genuine smile, a brief but focused check-in with a team member, an expression of appreciation for someone's contribution, a moment of shared laughter or understanding, building trust through transparency. One of the most effective antidotes to overthinking in relationships is radical transparency. Not the kind that dumps every thought and feeling onto others, but what I call structured transparency, the intentional sharing of both certainties and uncertainties in a way that builds trust rather than anxiety. Alyssa, a team leader in tech, discovered that when she openly shared her decision-making process with her team, including her doubts and considerations, it actually reduced everyone's tendency to overthink. Her vulnerability created a space where team members felt comfortable expressing their own thoughts without excessive analysis. The key to effective transparency lies in its structure. It's not about sharing every passing thought or concern, but about being honest about relevant uncertainties and challenges in a way that promotes understanding and collaboration. This approach helps prevent what I call assumption cascades, where one person's overthinking triggers similar patterns in others. The communication reset. Sometimes we need to completely reset our approach to relationship communication. This means letting go of our elaborate internal scripts and returning to basic principles of human connection. I've developed what I call the real framework. 1. Respond to what's actually being said, not what you imagine might be meant. 2. Express your own thoughts and feelings directly. 3. Accept that some uncertainty in relationships is normal and healthy. 4. Let go of the need to control others' perceptions. This framework helps prevent what I call relationship recursion, the tendency to analyze our analysis of relationships until we're several layers removed from actual connection. It's like looking at a reflection of a reflection. Each layer of analysis takes us further from the original image. David, a financial advisor, used this framework to transform his client relationships. I used to spend hours rehearsing client conversations in my head, he shared. Now, I focus on being present and responding authentically. Not only are my relationships better, but I'm also less exhausted. The practice of presence. Developing presence in relationships requires consistent practice and patience. It's about building new neural pathways that support direct experience rather than constant analysis. This process involves several key practices. Mindful interaction. Learning to stay present in conversations requires what I call conversational mindfulness, the ability to notice when we're slipping into overthinking and gently return our attention to the actual interaction. This skill can be developed through regular practice. 1. Start with brief interactions and gradually increase their duration. 2. Notice physical sensations that signal overthinking. 3. practice returning attention to the present moment. 4. Focus on one conversation at a time. 5. Trust in the natural flow of interaction. Emotional regulation. Managing the anxiety that often drives overthinking requires strong emotional regulation skills. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions, but learning to experience them without being overwhelmed by them. The goal is to maintain emotional equilibrium while staying engaged in relationships. The balance of connection. Finding the right balance between connection and independence is crucial for preventing relationship overthinking. This balance varies for each person and relationship, but the key is maintaining what I call flexible engagement, the ability to move between connection and autonomy without anxiety. Moving forward, as we conclude this chapter, remember that the goal isn't to eliminate all relationship analysis. Some degree of reflection is healthy and necessary. The key is finding the sweet spot between thoughtful consideration and overthinking, between care and obsession. Practice these principles with patience and self-compassion. Start with less challenging relationships and gradually apply these skills to more complex ones. Remember that every relationship is an opportunity to practice presence and authentic connection. Chapter takeaways. Overthinking in relationships often creates the very problems we're trying to prevent. Permeable boundaries allow for healthy connection while maintaining personal space. Clear, direct communication is more effective than overthought messages. Present-centered dialogue builds deeper connections than analytical approaches. The real framework helps maintain authentic relationships without excessive analysis. Building trust through structured transparency reduces everyone's tendency to overthink. Healthy relationships require accepting some uncertainty. Creating space between thought and response enables more genuine interactions. Relationship quality often improves when we reduce our analysis of it. Simple, authentic communication typically works better than carefully crafted messages. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to maintain these changes over time, creating sustainable patterns that support both clear thinking and meaningful relationships. You'll learn strategies for handling setbacks, adapting to different relationship contexts, and continuously refining your approach to relationship dynamics. Chapter 9. Sustaining the overthinking reset. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit, Aristotle. Last month, I received an email from Thomas, a former client who had struggled with chronic overthinking. I've been using the techniques for 6 months now, he wrote, and something interesting happened yesterday. I was faced with a major decision at work, and instead of spiraling into analysis paralysis, I just handled it. It wasn't until hours later that I realized I hadn't overthought it at all. The new patterns had become automatic. Thomas's experience illustrates a crucial truth about behavioral change. True transformation happens when new practices become so ingrained that we don't have to think about them anymore. But getting to this point requires more than just knowing what to do. It requires understanding how to make these practices stick. The science of habit formation. Before we dive into specific strategies, let's understand what's happening in your brain when you're building new habits. Neuroscience research has shown that habit formation follows a 3-part pattern, what I call the habit loop, Duhigg, 2012/2014. 1. Trigger, what sparks the behavior. 2. Routine, the behavior itself. 3. Reward, the benefit that reinforces the behavior. The key to sustainable change isn't willpower, it's engineering this loop to work in your favor. Think of it like programming a new operating system for your mind. The old overthinking patterns are like buggy software that needs to be replaced with more efficient code, turning practices into habits. The transition from conscious practice to automatic habit happens through a process called chunking, where individual actions are bundled into a single, smooth routine. This process is similar to learning to drive a car. At first, each action requires conscious thought. Check mirrors, signal, brake gently. But eventually, these separate actions merge into one fluid motion that happens almost automatically. The key to facilitating this process lies in attaching new habits to existing routines that are already firmly established in our daily lives. Think of it like adding new cars to an already moving train. It's easier to connect to something that's already in motion than to start from a standstill. For instance, one of my clients, Joanne, struggled to implement regular mindfulness practices until we connected them to her existing morning coffee ritual. Now, the act of pouring her coffee automatically triggers a 2-minute mindfulness check. Another client paired his priority list review with his habit of checking email first thing in the morning, turning what was once a source of stress and overthinking into a structured, purposeful routine. These connections don't have to be complex. Even something as simple as taking 3 conscious breaths after finishing each meeting can create a powerful pattern of mental reset throughout your day. The key is consistency in pairing the new behavior with the established routine. Beyond habit stacking, your physical environment plays a crucial role in cementing new habits. This is where environmental triggers become essential. Consider how your physical space can support your new thinking patterns. A decision journal kept prominently on your desk serves as both a practical tool and a visual reminder of your commitment to more structured decision-making. Even something as simple as your phone's wallpaper can serve as a subtle but consistent reminder of your anti-overthinking strategies. One of my clients, a financial analyst named Rebecca, took this concept a step further by creating what she calls her decision corner, a specific spot in her office dedicated solely to making important decisions. This space is intentionally minimalist, featuring only the tools she needs for clear thinking: her decision journal, a timer, and a simple notepad. When she sits in this space, it triggers a different mental state, one focused on decisive action rather than endless analysis. It's amazing how different it feels, Rebecca told me recently. Just walking to that corner signals to my brain that it's time to make a decision, not debate it endlessly. The physical act of moving to a dedicated space helps me shift from overthinking to actually deciding. This principle of environmental design extends beyond physical spaces to include digital environments as well. Another client, Michael, reorganized his computer desktop to create distinct zones for different types of thinking. A quick decisions folder for routine choices, a deep workspace for important projects, and a reflection zone for processing complex decisions. Quick wins, the power of small victories. When we're trying to change ingrained patterns, our instinct is often to go big, to make dramatic changes that feel significant and meaningful. However, research in behavioral psychology reveals a counterintuitive truth. Small wins are actually more effective at creating lasting change. Fred Berg and Pregmark, 2021. Rather than attempting to transform thinking patterns overnight, success comes from accumulating small victories day by day. Each minor achievement builds confidence and reinforces new neural pathways, creating sustainable progress that dramatic overhauls rarely achieve. The implications for overcoming overthinking are profound. Rather than trying to completely transform your thinking patterns overnight, success comes from accumulating small victories day by day. I saw this principle in action with a client, Joseph, who initially tried to eliminate overthinking from his life in one sweeping change. Predictably, this led to frustration and setbacks. Everything shifted when we reframed his goal into smaller, daily achievements. We started tracking what I call micro milestones, tiny but meaningful signs of progress. For Joseph, this meant celebrating moments when he caught himself starting to overthink and successfully redirected his attention. Each time he used the decision-making framework we discussed earlier, even for small choices, it counted as a victory. He kept a simple journal noting these daily wins, creating a visible record of his progress. The power of this approach became evident in unexpected ways. Instead of the overwhelming goal to stop overthinking, Joseph began celebrating specific moments of progress. The morning he caught himself starting to spiral about a work presentation and successfully applied our techniques to refocus. The afternoon, he made a decision about a project timeline using the 3-step formula rather than agonizing over it for hours. The day he took action on a new initiative without waiting for perfect conditions. These moments might seem small in isolation, but they represent crucial shifts in behavioral patterns. Each small victory reinforces the neural pathways associated with clearer, more decisive thinking. It's like laying down stepping stones across a river. Each stone might seem insignificant, but together they create a reliable path to the other side. This brings us to one of the most powerful tools for building new habits, the 2-minute rule. We briefly mentioned this in Chapter 3, but it deserves our complete attention. When you're starting a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. For example, instead of meditate daily, start with take 2 conscious breaths. Instead of keep a detailed journal, start with write 1 sentence. Instead of stop overthinking decisions, start with set 1 timer for 1 decision. These tiny actions might seem too small to matter, but they serve as gateway habits that lead to larger changes. Handling relapses, the art of getting back on track. Let's be honest, you will have days when you fall back into overthinking patterns. This isn't failure, it's part of the process. The key is how you handle these moments. The relapse recovery protocol. I teach my clients this 4-step protocol for handling relapses. 1. Recognize. Acknowledge that you're in an overthinking spiral. 2. Reset. Use the awareness pause technique from Chapter 2. 3. Reflect. Identify what triggered the relapse. 4. Restart. Choose 1 small action to get back on track. Remember Thomas from the beginning of this chapter? He shared that his biggest breakthrough came not from avoiding relapses entirely, but from learning to recover from them more quickly and gracefully. Building resilience through setbacks. Each relapse is an opportunity to strengthen your new habits. When you successfully recover from a setback, you're not just returning to baseline. You're building stronger neural pathways for future challenges. Think of it as building muscle. The small tears that occur during exercise lead to greater strength when they heal. Similarly, each time you catch yourself overthinking and successfully redirect, you're strengthening your mental resilience. Looking forward, your ongoing evolution. As you continue your journey beyond this book, remember that the goal isn't to eliminate thinking. It's to think more effectively. Your brain's ability to analyze, plan, and solve problems is a tremendous asset. We're just helping it work more efficiently. Creating your maintenance plan. Just as a garden needs ongoing care to thrive, your new mental habits need regular attention. Here's a framework for maintaining your progress. 1. Weekly review. Set aside time each week to assess your thinking patterns. 2. Monthly check-in. Review your decision journal and note any patterns. 3. Quarterly reset. Revisit the exercises from earlier chapters that were most helpful. 4. Annual evolution. Update your strategies based on new challenges and circumstances. As you move forward, remember that this isn't about reaching some final destination where you never overthink again. It's about developing a more balanced, effective relationship with your thoughts. Chapter takeaways. You now have a toolkit of strategies, techniques, and practices to help you think more clearly and act more decisively. The key is to keep using them, adapting them to your needs, and building on them as you grow. Remember these essential points. Habit formation follows predictable patterns that you can use to your advantage. Small wins create sustainable momentum. Relapses are normal and can be handled systematically. Ongoing maintenance is key to lasting change. In our final chapter, we'll bring everything together with the 21-day action plan, your day-by-day guide to implementing these changes in a structured, sustainable way. You've learned the principles. Now it's time to put them into consistent practice. Chapter 10, the 21-day action plan daily practices. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Lao-Tzu. You've learned the science behind overthinking, explored the strategies for clearer thinking, and understood the principles of lasting change. Now, it's time to put everything into practice. This 21-day plan is more than a collection of exercises. It's a carefully structured journey that builds upon itself, helping you transform insights into habits. Before we begin, let's address something important. Why 21 days? As discussed at the beginning of the book, while the old saying that it takes 21 days to form a habit isn't strictly accurate, 3 weeks provides an ideal framework for establishing new patterns. It's long enough to create meaningful change, but short enough to maintain focus and momentum. Think of this plan as training wheels for your mind. Just as training wheels help you develop the muscle memory for riding a bicycle, these daily practices help you develop the mental patterns for clearer, more decisive thinking. Week 1. Awareness and Foundations. The first week focuses on building awareness and establishing basic practices. Like constructing a house, we need to lay a solid foundation before we can build upward. Day 1 to 3, the awareness phase. During these first 3 days, your primary goal is to become aware of your overthinking patterns without trying to change them. Think of yourself as a scientist observing an interesting phenomenon. On day 1, you'll begin with the trigger tracking triangle exercise we discussed in Chapter 2. Keep your decision journal nearby and note when you catch yourself overthinking. Don't judge or try to change anything yet. Simply observe and record. Pay particular attention to the following. What situations trigger your overthinking? What time of day does it typically occur? What physical sensations accompany it? What thoughts tend to loop? Days 2 and 3 build on this awareness by introducing the external brain system from Chapter 3. Start capturing your mental clutter in your chosen system, whether it's a notebook, digital app, or a combination of both. Day 4 to 5, building the foundation. Now that you have a clearer picture of your overthinking patterns, days 4 and 5 focus on implementing the basic tools for managing them. You'll begin using the 3-step decision formula from Chapter 4, starting with small, low-stakes decisions. A client of mine began with deciding what to have for lunch. It sounds trivial, she told me, but practicing the formula on small decisions helped me trust the process when bigger choices came along. Day 6 to 7, establishing routines. The final days of week 1 focus on creating supportive daily routines. You'll establish 3 specific times: morning mental clearing, decision-making periods, evening reflection. Remember, these routines don't need to be lengthy. Even 5 to 10 minutes can be effective if used consistently. Week 2, deepening the practice. With your foundation in place, week 2 focuses on deepening your practice and handling more challenging situations. Day 8 to 10, expanding your comfort zone. During these days, you'll apply your tools to progressively more significant decisions. The key is to stretch yourself while maintaining confidence in the process. Each day, choose one decision that's slightly outside your comfort zone, but not overwhelming. You'll also begin implementing the reframing techniques from Chapter 5, practicing the edit method on your inner critic's most common messages. Day 11 to 14, integration and flow. The second half of week 2 focuses on integrating your new practices into your natural flow. This is where the habit stacking principles from Chapter 9 become crucial. You'll learn to attach your anti-overthinking practices to existing routines in your day. One executive I worked with paired his decision-making practice with his regular coffee breaks. Every time I got up for coffee, he explained, I would make one pending decision using the 3-step formula. It became as natural as adding cream to my coffee. Week 3, maintaining momentum. The final week focuses on solidifying your progress and preparing for long-term success. Day 15 to 17, strengthening your practice. These days focus on what I call stress testing your new habits. You'll deliberately put yourself in situations that typically trigger overthinking, but now with your new tools and awareness. This might include taking on a new project decision, having a challenging conversation you've been avoiding, making a financial choice you've been postponing. The goal isn't perfect execution, but building confidence in your ability to handle overthinking triggers. Day 18 to 19, fine-tuning your system. Days 18 and 19 are about personalizing and optimizing your approach. You'll review what's working best for you and adjust accordingly. Some people find morning decision-making most effective, others prefer afternoon. Some benefit most from written exercises, others from verbal processing. Day 20 to 21, creating your maintenance plan. The final 2 days focus on sustaining your progress beyond the 21-day program. You'll create a personalized maintenance plan that includes regular check-ins with yourself, specific strategies for handling setbacks, clear triggers for implementing your tools, a support system for ongoing progress, making the most of your 21-day journey. As you embark on this 3-week transformation, keep these principles in mind. Understand that progress isn't linear. Some days will feel easier than others. This is normal and expected. Think of it like learning a new language. Some days, the words flow naturally, and other days, they feel stuck. Both are part of the learning process, customized to your needs. While the plan provides a structured framework, feel free to adjust the timing and specific exercises to fit your life. The key is consistency, not perfection. Document your journey. Keep notes about your experience. What works well? What challenges arise? What unexpected benefits do you notice? This documentation will be invaluable for maintaining your progress long-term, beyond the 21 days. As you complete this program, remember that the end of these 21 days isn't the end of your journey. It's just the beginning of your new relationship with thinking and decision-making. You've built a foundation of skills and awareness that will serve you well beyond this initial period. Think of these 21 days as learning to ride a bike. At first, you need to think about every movement, but eventually it becomes natural. You'll still encounter hills and rough patches, but you'll have the skills and confidence to handle them. Remember these key insights. The first week builds awareness and basic skills. The second week deepens your practice and builds confidence. The final week prepares you for long-term success. Your journey continues beyond these 21 days. As we conclude this book, remember that you've not just learned about overthinking. You've developed practical tools to transform your relationship with your thoughts. The path ahead is clear, and you're well-equipped to walk it with confidence and clarity. The next time you find yourself caught in an overthinking spiral, remember how far you've come. You're no longer that person who gets stuck in endless mental loops. You're someone who knows how to think clearly, decide confidently, and act purposefully. Your journey to clearer thinking starts now. Turn the page and begin day 1. Conclusion: your new overthinking-free life. Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, but learning to dance in the rain. Vivian Green. As we conclude our journey together, take a moment to appreciate how far you've come. From understanding the neuroscience of overthinking to developing practical strategies for clearer thinking, you've built a comprehensive toolkit for managing your mental landscape. But more than that, you've begun reshaping your relationship with your own thoughts. The journey you've completed. Think back to where we started. Remember the metaphor of the cat chasing its tail? That endless cycle of recursive thinking that left you mentally exhausted and no closer to resolution? Through these chapters, you've learned to recognize when you're in that cycle and, more importantly, how to step out of it. You've discovered how your brain's default mode network influences overthinking, ways to create mental space through decluttering techniques, the power of the 3-step decision formula, methods for quieting your inner critic, strategies for maintaining productivity despite uncertainty, techniques for building emotional resilience, tools for strengthening relationships without overthinking them, approaches for sustaining these changes long-term, building lasting habits. The 21-day plan you've just completed isn't just a series of exercises. It's the foundation for a new way of thinking and living. Like any significant change, this transformation requires ongoing attention and care. Think of it like tending a garden. The initial planting is crucial, but it's the regular maintenance that ensures lasting growth. I encourage you to continue using your decision journal, practicing your mental decluttering routines, and applying the 3-step formula. Each time you successfully navigate a decision without falling into overthinking, you're strengthening these new neural pathways. Consider establishing a regular maintenance schedule for your mental habits. Weekly reviews of your decision-making patterns. Monthly assessments of your progress. Quarterly refreshers of key techniques that resonated most strongly with you. The power of renewal. Here's something important to remember. It's perfectly normal and even beneficial to revisit this 21-day plan periodically. Just as athletes return to fundamental training drills throughout their careers, you might find value in cycling through these exercises again when you're facing a particularly challenging life transition. You notice old, overthinking patterns starting to creep back. You want to strengthen your mental clarity further. You're taking on new responsibilities that require sharp decision-making. Each time you go through the program, you'll discover new insights and deeper layers of understanding. The techniques remain the same, but your relationship with them evolves as you grow. Looking forward, as you move forward from these pages, remember that the goal was never to eliminate thinking. It was to make your thinking serve you rather than control you. You now have the tools to recognize overthinking before it overtakes you. Choose appropriate strategies for different situations. Trust your decision-making process. Maintain momentum even in uncertainty. Recover quickly when old patterns emerge. Your mind is now like a well-tuned instrument, capable of producing clear, decisive thoughts when needed and maintaining peaceful clarity when appropriate. You've learned to differentiate between productive contemplation and unproductive rumination. Your personal challenge. I want to leave you with a challenge. In the next 24 hours, identify one decision you've been overthinking. Apply the tools you've learned, perhaps the 3-step formula or the edit method, and take action. Then, notice how it feels to move forward without the weight of excessive analysis. Remember, clarity isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create through consistent practice and self-awareness. You now have everything you need to maintain an overthinking-free life. The path ahead is clear, and you're well-equipped to walk it with confidence and purpose. You've done more than read a book. You've embarked on a transformation. Your thoughts are no longer your master. They're your tools. Use them wisely, trust your process, and keep moving forward. The journey doesn't end here. In many ways, it's just beginning. But now you have the map, the compass, and the confidence to navigate whatever lies ahead. Welcome to your overthinking-free life. The 21-day plan, detailed daily guide. The journey of a lifetime begins with the turning of a page. Rachel Anders. You're about to embark on a transformative 3-week journey to reset your relationship with thinking. This isn't just another set of exercises. It's a carefully structured program that builds progressively, helping you develop new mental habits and patterns that will serve you long after these 21 days are over. Each day of this plan has been designed with intention and purpose, drawing from the concepts and tools we've explored throughout this book. The daily practices follow a natural progression. First, they build awareness, then implement tools and techniques, and finally, create sustainable habits for long-term success. How to use this plan? Before you begin, take a moment to set yourself up for success. You'll need a dedicated notebook or digital journal for your daily reflections, a quiet space where you can do your daily exercises without interruption, 15 to 30 minutes each day for focused practice, a commitment to consistency even when it feels challenging. This plan is a framework, not a rigid set of rules. While I encourage you to follow the sequence as presented, each day builds upon the previous ones. Feel free to adjust the timing and specific practices to fit your life. What matters most is consistent engagement with the core principles. What to expect? The plan is divided into 3 distinct weeks, each with its own focus and purpose. Week 1 centers on awareness and foundations. You'll develop a clear understanding of your overthinking patterns and begin building basic habits for clearer thinking. Week 2 focuses on deepening your practice. You'll implement more advanced techniques and start working with more challenging situations. Week 3 emphasizes maintaining momentum and preparing for long-term success. You'll learn to handle setbacks and create sustainable patterns for continued growth. As you progress through these weeks, you'll likely notice changes, both subtle and significant. Some days will feel easier than others. Trust the process and keep moving forward one day at a time. Let's begin your journey to clearer, more effective thinking. Week 1, Awareness and Foundations. The first week of your journey focuses on building awareness, and establishing the fundamental practices that will support your transformation. Think of this week as laying the foundation of a house. Every strong structure needs a solid base. During these 7 days, you'll develop the self-awareness and basic habits necessary for lasting change. This week is designed to be gentle yet powerful. You won't be trying to change everything at once. Instead, you'll develop the awareness and tools to make future changes more effective and sustainable. Each day builds upon the previous one, creating a steady progression toward clearer thinking. Remember, during this first week, your main goal is observation and understanding. You're like an anthropologist studying a new culture. In this case, the culture of your own mind. Be curious, patient, and, most importantly, kind to yourself as you begin this journey. Day 1. Identify your overthinking triggers. Before you can change any pattern, you need to understand it thoroughly. That's why we're starting with trigger identification. Think of triggers as the sparks that ignite overthinking episodes. By understanding what sets off your overthinking, you gain valuable insight into how to manage and eventually transform these patterns. Today's work is fundamental to everything that follows in this program. The insights you gain will inform how you approach each subsequent day. Take your time with these exercises. There's no rush, and thorough self-observation today will pay dividends throughout your journey. Today's focus, self-awareness, Chapter 2. Remember the cat chasing its tail metaphor from Chapter 2? Today, you're going to step back and observe your own patterns of circular thinking. This isn't about changing anything yet. It's about developing awareness of when and how your overthinking patterns emerge. Morning setup, 10 to 15 minutes. Start your day by preparing your trigger tracking system. You'll need the following: a notebook or digital note-taking app, your decision journal from Chapter 2, a quiet space for initial reflection, primary exercise, trigger tracking throughout the day. As you go through your day, document instances of overthinking as they occur. For each episode, record 1. The situation. What was happening when the overthinking began? Where were you? What were you doing? 2. The trigger. What specific event, thought, or interaction sparked the overthinking? Was it a decision you needed to make? A conversation you had? An upcoming event? 3. Your response. What physical sensations did you notice? Tension, racing heart, etc. What emotions arose? What thoughts kept repeating? 4. The duration. How long did the overthinking episode last? What eventually interrupted or ended it? Remember, you're not trying to stop or change your overthinking today. Just observe it with curiosity, like a scientist studying an interesting phenomenon. Evening reflection, 15 to 20 minutes. At the end of your day, review your observations and consider. 1. Patterns in your triggers. Were there common themes in what triggered your overthinking? Did certain times of day feature more overthinking than others? Were there particular people or situations that consistently sparked overthinking? 2. Emotional patterns. What emotions typically accompanied your overthinking? Did certain emotions seem to trigger overthinking, or did overthinking trigger certain emotions? 3. Physical patterns. What physical sensations consistently accompanied your overthinking? Were there any environmental factors that seemed to make overthinking more likely? Reflection space. Use this space to write freely about what you've discovered today. Consider, what surprised you about your overthinking patterns? What confirmed what you already suspected? What questions arose that you'd like to explore further? Looking ahead, tomorrow, you'll build on today's awareness by beginning to implement the external brain system from Chapter 3. Keep your trigger tracking notes handy. They'll help inform how you structure your external brain to best support your needs. Today's key takeaway: understanding your triggers is the first step toward managing them. You can't change what you don't notice, and today was all about noticing. Be proud of yourself for taking this first, crucial step toward clearer thinking. Optional extension activities. If you find yourself with extra time and energy, try these activities. Review the different types of overthinking described in Chapter 2 and note which ones you observe in yourself today. Begin categorizing your triggers into broad categories: work, relationships, decisions, etc. Start a simple mindfulness practice of taking 3 conscious breaths whenever you notice overthinking beginning. The goal today isn't perfection, but awareness. Every moment of noticing is a small victory, building the foundation for the changes to come. Day 2. Brain dump to clear mental clutter. Today builds directly on your awareness work from day 1. Now that you can recognize when your mind is cluttered, you'll learn to systematically clear that mental space. Think of it as closing all those open tabs in your mental browser. Each thought you capture frees up processing power for clearer thinking. Today's focus: mental decluttering, Chapter 3. Your mind isn't designed to be a storage unit. It's meant to be a processing center. Today's exercises will help you transition from storing information in your head to capturing it in a reliable external system. This shift is fundamental to reducing overthinking and creating mental space for clear decision-making. Morning setup, 5 minutes. Prepare your space for effective decluttering. Find a quiet, comfortable spot where you won't be interrupted. Gather paper and pen or your preferred digital tool. Set a timer for your brain dump sessions. Take 3 deep breaths to center yourself. Primary exercise. The total brain dump, 30 minutes total. 1. Initial download, 10 minutes. Set your timer for 10 minutes and write down everything on your mind. Tasks, worries, ideas, commitments. Don't organize or judge, just get it all out. Keep writing until the timer goes off. Even if you have to write, I don't know what to write. The goal is continuous output. 2. Categorization, 10 minutes. Review what you've written and mark items as actions, things that need doing; decisions, choices to be made; worries, concerns without clear actions; ideas, things to explore later; information, things to remember. 3. Quick wins, 10 minutes. Identify any items that can be completed in 2 minutes or less and handle these immediately. Cross them off your list. This creates immediate momentum and shows your brain that capturing thoughts leads to action. Mini dumps throughout the day, 3 to 5 minutes each. Schedule 3 brief mental clearing sessions. Mid-morning check-in. After lunch reset. End-of-day capture. During each session, quickly write down anything that's occupying mental space. Think of these as maintenance sweeps to prevent mental clutter from accumulating again. Evening integration, 15 to 20 minutes. Review your collected thoughts and then follow these steps. 1. Transfer action items to your task management system. 2. Schedule decisions that need to be made. 3. File reference information where it belongs. 4. Create a worry list for items that need further processing. Reflection space. Take time to consider the following. What patterns do you notice in your mental clutter? Which types of thoughts take up the most mental space? How does your mind feel after doing the brain dumps? What resistance did you notice during the exercises? Write your observations in your journal, noting these things in particular. Recurring themes or worries. Tasks that keep surfacing. Decisions you've been postponing. Areas of life generating the most mental noise. Looking ahead, tomorrow, you'll build on today's clearing practice by implementing a no-scroll morning routine. Keep your brain dump notes nearby. They'll help you identify which digital inputs might be contributing to your mental clutter. Today's key takeaway: mental decluttering isn't about emptying your mind completely. It's about creating a reliable system for capturing and processing thoughts so they don't have to circle endlessly in your head. Each thought you transfer from mind to paper creates space for clearer thinking. Remember Sarah? Within a week of implementing regular brain dumps, she reported feeling more mentally agile and less overwhelmed. It's like I finally gave myself permission to not keep everything in my head, she said. Optional extension activities. If you have additional time and energy, try this. Create dedicated spaces for different types of captured thoughts. Write a someday / maybe list of items you want to consider in the future. Practice the 2-minute rule. If any captured item can be done in less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. You don't need to clear your mind completely. That's neither possible nor desirable. Instead, focus on creating a sustainable system for managing mental content. Every thought you can. Day 3. Practice a no scroll morning routine. Building on your awareness work and mental decluttering practice. Today we focus on starting your day with intention rather than reaction. The first hour after waking sets the tone for your entire day. When we immediately reach for our phones, we flood our minds with others' priorities, opinions, and energy before we've even established our own. Today's focus, Digital Detox, Chapter 3. The goal today is to create a morning sanctuary, a space of mental clarity before engaging with the digital world. This isn't about demonizing technology. It's about choosing when and how we engage with it. Morning setup before bed. To set yourself up for success, prepare the following the night before. Charge your phone outside your bedroom. Set a traditional alarm clock if needed. Place a journal or book by your bed. Set out what you need for your morning routine. Primary exercise, the no-scroll hour. Here are the guidelines for the first hour of your day. 1. Upon waking, resist the urge to check your phone. 2. Instead, focus on this. Taking 3 deep breaths, stretching or gentle movement, drinking water, basic morning care, hygiene, dressing. A simple breakfast without screens. Alternative morning activities. Choose 1 to 2. Light exercise or yoga. Reading a physical book. Journaling. Meditation. Planning your day. Making breakfast mindfully. Enjoying your coffee/tea without distractions. After the hour, when you do pick up your device, follow these guidelines. Notice your emotional state before checking notifications. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Check essential communications only. Return to your day with intention. Mini practice throughout the day. Apply the same principle of intentional breaks from digital input at key transition points. Before important meetings, during lunch, before making significant decisions, an hour before bedtime, evening integration, 15 minutes. Now, document your experience. 1. Note differences in the following. Energy levels, ability to focus, emotional state, decision-making clarity. 2. Identify any challenges or resistance. 3. Plan adjustments for tomorrow. Reflection space. Consider and write about these questions. How did your mind feel during the no-scroll hour? What urges or habits did you notice? What filled the space that scrolling usually occupies? How did this change affect your morning productivity? What surprised you about the experience? Looking ahead, tomorrow, you'll build on this practice of focused attention with the single tasking challenge. The mental clarity you're developing through your no-scroll morning will support your ability to maintain sustained focus on individual tasks. Today's key takeaway: the first hour of your day is like the foundation of a building. It needs to be solid and intentionally constructed. By reclaiming this time for yourself, you're actively choosing what seeds to plant in your mind for the day ahead. Optional extension activities. If you're ready to deepen the practice, try this. Extend the no-scroll period to 2 hours. Create a structured morning routine incorporating multiple non-digital activities. Designate other screen-free periods throughout your day. Practice mindful transitions between digital and non-digital activities. Each morning you begin with clarity creates momentum for clearer thinking throughout the day. Day 4. Single tasking challenge. Building on the mental clarity you developed with yesterday's no-scroll morning, today we focus on the power of undivided attention. Single tasking strengthens your ability to stay present and focused, directly counteracting the scattered thinking patterns that feed overthinking. Today's focus, mindfulness in tasks, Chapter 3. When we give one task our complete attention, we access deeper levels of focus and creativity. Today, you'll practice this skill through a series of focused work periods, gradually building your capacity for sustained attention. Morning setup, 10 minutes. Prepare your environment for focused work. Clear your workspace of unnecessary items. Close irrelevant browser tabs. Turn off phone notifications. Have water and any needed materials within reach. Take 3 centering breaths. Primary exercise, focused work periods. Complete 3 focus work sessions today. Morning session, 15 to 20 minutes. 1. Choose one clearly defined task. 2. Set a timer. 3. Work on only that task until the timer sounds. 4. Notice when your mind wanders. 5. Gently return focus to the task. Afternoon session, 15 to 20 minutes. Select a different task. Repeat the focused attention practice. Notice if it's easier or harder than the morning. Final session, 15 to 20 minutes. Choose a third task. Complete another focus period. Observe how your concentration has evolved. Between sessions, follow these steps after each focus period. 1. Take a 5-minute break. 2. Know what you accomplished. 3. Record any observations about your focus. 4. Stretch or move briefly. 5. Prepare for your next task. Evening integration, 15 minutes. Review your single tasking experiences. 1. Compare the quality of work across sessions. 2. Note which times of day felt most focused. 3. Identify your most common distractions. 4. Document strategies that helped maintain focus. Reflection space. Consider and write about these reflections. How did it feel to focus on just one thing? What differences did you notice in work quality? Which distractions were most persistent? When did focus come most naturally? What helped you return to focus when your mind wandered? Looking ahead, tomorrow, you'll apply the 3-step decision formula to a specific choice. The focused attention you've practiced today will help you maintain clarity during decision-making. Today's key takeaway: each moment of returned focus strengthens your mental muscles. Like training any skill, single tasking becomes more natural with practice, creating space for clearer thoughts and more effective action. Optional extension activities. Try any of these activities to deepen your practice. Gradually extend focus sessions to 25 minutes. Create a dedicated focus space in your home or office. Practice single tasking during routine activities like eating or walking. Track your focus scores throughout the day. Every focus moment builds your capacity for clear, directed thinking. Day 5. Apply the 3-step decision formula. Today combines your growing awareness and focus skills with practical decision-making tools. Building on your ability to concentrate from yesterday's single tasking practice, you'll learn to move through decisions with clarity and purpose. Today's focus, decision-making, Chapter 4. The 3-step decision formula transforms vague choices into clear actions. Today, you'll practice this method on a small decision, building confidence in the process before applying it to bigger choices. Morning setup, 10 minutes. Prepare your decision-making environment. Find a quiet space. Open your decision journal. A list 2 to 3 small decisions you've been postponing. Choose one to focus on today. Take 3 centering breaths. Primary exercise. The 3-step formula in action. 1. Set your success criteria, 15 minutes. Write your decision at the top of a fresh page. List what a successful outcome looks like. Note your non-negotiables. Identify your good enough threshold. 2. Set your time frame, 5 minutes. Choose a specific deadline for this decision. Write it down with a date and time. Set a timer or calendar reminder. Commit to honoring this deadline. 3. Take action, 20 minutes. Review your criteria. List your available options. Compare against your success metrics. Make your choice. Document your decision. Implementation period, 1 hour. Take immediate action on your decision. 1. Schedule any necessary follow-up. 2. Communicate your choice if needed. 3. Begin implementation steps. 4. Note any resistance or relief. Evening integration, 15 minutes. Review your decision-making experience. 1. Document your final choice. 2. Record your emotional state. 3. Note any urges to second-guess. 4. Plan your next action steps. Reflection space. Consider and write about these reflections. How did having clear criteria affect your decision-making? What role did the time boundary play? How do you feel about your decision now? What made this process easier or harder? Where else could you apply this formula? Looking ahead, tomorrow, you'll practice reframing negative thoughts, building on today's structured approach to thinking. The clarity you've gained through decisive action will support your ability to examine and reshape self-critical patterns. Today's key takeaway: decisions become clearer when we define what success looks like and commit to a timeline. Each time you move through this process, you strengthen your ability to think decisively rather than endlessly analyze. Optional extension activities. To reinforce your practice, try these activities. Apply the formula to a second small decision. Create a decision criteria template for future use. Share your process with someone else. Document lessons learned for bigger decisions. Each decisive action builds momentum toward clearer thinking and confident choices. Day 6. Reframe a negative thought. Building on yesterday's decision-making clarity, today we focus on transforming self-critical thinking patterns. Just as you learn to structure external decisions, you'll now practice reshaping internal dialogue using proven reframing techniques. Today's focus: quieting the inner critic, Chapter 5. Your inner critic developed as a protective mechanism, but like an overprotective parent, it can hold you back from growth and confidence. Today's practice isn't about silencing this voice entirely. It's about teaching it to speak more wisely and compassionately. Morning setup: 10 minutes. Prepare your reframing workspace. Find a quiet, private space. Have your journal ready. Set aside judgment and criticism. Take 3 grounding breaths. Oh, remember, you're not your thoughts. Primary exercise: thought reframing practice, 30 minutes. 1. Capture 10 minutes. Write down one recurring negative thought. Note when it typically appears. Rate its emotional impact, 1 to 10. Describe the physical sensations it creates. Notice any associated behaviors. 2. Examine 10 minutes. Ask yourself, what evidence supports this thought? What evidence contradicts it? How would you view this in a friend? What might a mentor say about it? Where did this belief originate? 3. Reframe 10 minutes. Create 3 alternative perspectives. A balanced view considering all evidence. A compassionate interpretation. A growth-oriented perspective. Mini reframes throughout the day, 2 to 3 minutes each. Practice quick reframes at key moments. Before important meetings. After receiving feedback. During stress points. When making decisions. Evening integration, 15 to 20 minutes. Review your reframing experience. Compare original and reframed thoughts. Note changes in emotional impact. Document any resistance encountered. Plan tomorrow's practice focus. Reflection space. Consider and write about these questions. How did reframing affect your stress level? Which new perspectives felt most genuine? What patterns emerged in your negative thoughts? Where did you find the most resistance? What surprised you about the process? Looking ahead, tomorrow, you will build on today's reframing work by cultivating gratitude and creating a positive foundation that will make reframing easier and more natural. Today's key takeaway: reframing isn't about positive thinking. It's about accurate thinking. Each time you challenge a negative thought, you build neural pathways for more balanced, realistic perspectives. Optional extension activities. If you're ready to deepen the practice, try this. Create a personal reframing handbook. Practice partner reframing with a friend. Write a letter from your future, wiser self. Document your reframing successes. The goal isn't to eliminate negative thoughts, but to respond to them with wisdom and self-compassion. Day 7. Gratitude check-in. As we conclude this foundation week, we will focus on building emotional resilience through gratitude. This practice integrates everything you've learned: awareness, presence, focus, and reframing, while adding a powerful new tool to your mental clarity toolkit. Today's focus: emotional resilience, Chapter 7. Gratitude isn't just positive thinking. It's a scientifically proven method for building psychological resilience. Today's practice helps you notice and appreciate the small moments that often go unrecognized, creating a buffer against overthinking and anxiety. Morning setup: 5 minutes. Create your gratitude space. 1. Choose a quiet moment. 2. Open your journal. 3. Set aside any pressure to find big things. 4. Take 3 centering breaths. 5. Connect with your present experience. Primary exercise. Detailed gratitude practice, 20 minutes. 1 notice, 10 minutes. Focus on 3 small, specific things. Something in your immediate environment. A recent interaction or experience. A quality or capability you possess. For each item, write the following. Concrete details about what you appreciate. Why this particular thing matters. How it affects your daily life. 2. Deepen, 10 minutes. For each item, explore these factors. The chain of events that made it possible. The people who contributed to it. How your life would be different without it. What it enables or supports in your life. Mini gratitude moments, 1 to 2 minutes each. Schedule 3 brief gratitude pauses. Morning appreciation. Midday acknowledgement. Evening reflection. Evening integration, 15 minutes. Review your gratitude practice. Note any shifts in mood or perspective. Document unexpected discoveries. Plan tomorrow's focus areas. Consider weekly patterns in progress. Reflection space. Take time to consider this. How has your perspective shifted this week? What patterns emerge in what you notice? Which practices resonated most strongly? What challenges do you want to explore? How might you build on this foundation? Looking back and ahead, review your week's journey. Day 1, trigger awareness. Day 2, mental decluttering. Day 3, morning intention. Day 4, focused attention. Day 5, clear decisions. Day 6, balanced thinking. Day 7, grateful presence. Today's key takeaway. Gratitude isn't about ignoring difficulties. It's about widening your perspective to include the full spectrum of your experience. Each moment of appreciation builds resilience for challenging times. Optional extension activities. To deepen your practice, do any of the following. Create a gratitude map linking connected blessings. Write thank you notes, sent or unsent. Photo document small moments of appreciation. Share your gratitude practice with others. This week is just the beginning. You've built a foundation of practices that will continue to serve you as you move forward on your journey to clearer thinking and greater peace of mind. Week 2, deepening the practice. Moving into your second week represents a significant shift in your overthinking reset journey. While week 1 focused on building basic awareness and creating new habits, week 2 takes you deeper into understanding and transforming your thought patterns. Think of week 1 as learning to identify the what of your overthinking. Week 2 helps you understand the why and how to change it. This week, you'll work with more challenging material, examine emotional triggers, implement focused work techniques, and develop stronger resilience. Each day builds upon the previous one, creating a comprehensive approach to managing overthinking at its root. Day 8. Identify your top 3 emotional triggers. Understanding emotional triggers is crucial because they often initiate overthinking cycles before we're even aware of what's happening. For example, a simple email marked urgent might trigger a cascade of worry about work performance, leading to hours of mental rehearsal and second-guessing. By identifying these triggers, you can catch overthinking patterns at their source. Today's focus, emotional triggers, Chapter 7. An emotional trigger is any situation, person, or event that consistently sparks a strong emotional reaction. These reactions often bypass our logical thinking and activate overthinking as we try to regain a sense of control. Today's practice helps you map these triggers so you can recognize and respond to them more effectively. Morning setup. Creating the right environment is crucial for this deep, emotional work. Find a private, quiet space where you won't be interrupted. Have your journal and perhaps a warm drink ready. Take 5 deep breaths, focusing on grounding yourself. Remember that all emotions are valid data points for this exercise. Primary exercise, trigger mapping. 1. Begin with a recent history scan, 20 minutes. Think of this as being a detective in your own life. Look for moments when your emotional response felt bigger than the situation warranted. Review each day of the past week in detail, noticing times when you felt particularly stressed, angry, or anxious. Include situations where you found yourself overthinking afterward. 2. Move into pattern recognition, 20 minutes. Step back and look at these incidents as if you were observing someone else's life. What situations keep appearing? Are there particular times of day when you're more vulnerable? Do certain people or types of interactions commonly trigger you? 3. Top 3 analysis, 30 minutes. Identify your most significant triggers. For each one, situation analysis. Write out a specific recent example. Include who was involved in the setting. Record the time of day and your energy level. Response mapping. Track your thought sequence from start to finish. Note physical sensations and immediate reactions. Observe how long the effect lasted. Afternoon practice, creating response cards. Develop practical response cards you'll carry with you. For each trigger, create a small card that includes the trigger description, warning signs, and immediate response strategies. Think of these as emergency instructions for your mind. Evening integration. Take time to review and cement your learning. Look for connections between triggers, identify underlying themes, and begin developing specific strategies for each trigger. Create action plans that include preventive measures and recovery protocols. Looking ahead, tomorrow's Pomodoro technique practice will give you a structured way to work with triggers as they arise. Consider how you might use timed work periods to manage triggering situations. Day 9. Implement the Pomodoro technique. After yesterday's deep work with emotional triggers, today we're learning a practical tool for managing both your time and your mind. The Pomodoro technique isn't just about productivity. It's a powerful way to contain overthinking by giving your brain clear boundaries for both focus and rest. Today's focus. Productivity, Chapter 6. The Pomodoro technique works because it aligns with your brain's natural rhythm of focus and rest. Think of it like interval training for your mind. Periods of concentrated effort followed by strategic recovery. This pattern helps prevent the mental exhaustion that often triggers overthinking. The technique follows 4 simple rules. 1. Work for 25 minutes with complete focus. 2. Take a 5-minute break. 3. After 4 Pomodoros, take a longer 15 to 30-minute break. 4. Each session is indivisible. If you're interrupted, either deal with the interruption quickly or stop the timer. Morning setup. Creating the right environment is crucial for success. Clear your desk completely except for what you need. Have water within reach. Position your timer where you can see it. Put your phone in another room or on Do Not Disturb. Before starting, write down exactly what you'll work on. Break large tasks into 25-minute chunks. Set clear success criteria for each session. Remember that your mind will wander. This is normal. Primary exercise, Pomodoro sessions. Start your first round with something you've been overthinking or avoiding. Write down your specific goal for the next 25 minutes. Notice your current mental state. Take 3 deep breaths and begin. Do the following during each Pomodoro. Keep a tally of overthinking interruptions. Note but don't engage with wandering thoughts. Stay with the task until the timer rings. Your breaks are as important as your work periods. Stand up and move around, but avoid checking messages or starting new tasks. Use this time for physical needs and mental rest. Evening integration. Review your experience, noting completed Pomodoros, interruption patterns, and highest focus times. Compare morning and afternoon performance. Consider which tasks worked best with this method and what adjustments might help tomorrow. Looking ahead, tomorrow's affirmation writing will build on today's structured approach. Consider how you might use the Pomodoro technique to contain and focus your affirmation practice. Day 10, affirmation writing. After strengthening your focus through the Pomodoro technique, we turn to reshaping your inner dialogue today. Many people misunderstand affirmations, thinking they should be overly optimistic statements that don't feel true. Instead, we're going to create grounded, authentic statements that acknowledge both your challenges and your capabilities. Today's focus, building a kinder inner dialogue, Chapter 5. The way we talk to ourselves shapes our thinking patterns. When we consistently practice harsh self-talk, we strengthen neural pathways for negative thinking. Effective affirmations help create new pathways by providing alternative perspectives that are both supportive and realistic. Morning setup. Creating effective affirmations requires the right environment and mindset. Choose a private, quiet location. Remove distractions and ensure you're physically comfortable. Take several deep breaths and notice your current mood and energy. Remember, this is an experiment, not a test. Primary exercise. Crafting effective affirmations. 1. Begin with pattern identification, 20 minutes. Write down thoughts that frequently trouble you, noting when they appear and their impact on your decisions. Look for common themes and triggers. 2. Move into affirmation development, 30 minutes. Do the following for each pattern. Write the current thought exactly as it appears. Identify what triggers it and its origin. Gather evidence that challenges this thought. Create a balanced alternative statement. Refine until it feels true and actionable. Examples of transforming thoughts. From "I always overthink important decisions" to "I can make thoughtful decisions while trusting my judgment." From "Everyone else seems more confident" to "I build confidence through taking action and learning from experience." Practice sessions. Schedule 3 10-minute practice periods throughout your day. In each session, find a quiet moment. Speak your affirmations slowly. Notice physical sensations and emotional responses. Write down any resistance. Adjust wording as needed. Evening integration. Review your experience, noting physical responses, emotional shifts, and changes in thinking patterns. Document what worked well and what needs refinement. Looking ahead, tomorrow's mindfulness meditation practice will build on this foundation of self-awareness. Your affirmations can serve as anchors during meditation, especially when your mind wanders into overthinking. This practice grows stronger over time. Each repetition of your affirmations helps create new neural pathways, gradually making supportive self-talk more natural and automatic. Day 11. 5-minute mindfulness meditation. Building on yesterday's affirmation practice, today we explore meditation as a tool for calming the overthinking mind. While 5 minutes might seem brief, this short practice can create powerful shifts in your mental state and thought patterns. Today's focus, calming the mind, Chapter 3. Mindfulness meditation is like creating a pause button for your racing thoughts. Instead of trying to stop thinking entirely, which isn't possible or desirable, you'll learn to observe your thoughts without getting caught in them. Think of it as sitting on the bank of a river, watching thoughts float past rather than being swept away by them. Morning setup. Create an environment that supports your practice. Find a quiet, comfortable space. Set a gentle timer for 5 minutes. Ensure your posture is alert yet relaxed. Have a journal nearby for later reflection. Primary exercise, the 5-minute reset. Begin by taking 3 deliberate breaths to signal to your mind and body that you're shifting into meditation time. Let your eyes close gently or maintain a soft gaze a few feet in front of you. During these 5 minutes, follow these steps. 1. Use your breath as an anchor for attention. 2. Notice the natural rhythm without changing it. 3. Feel the sensations of breathing. 4. Acknowledge wandering thoughts. 5. Gently return focus to the breath. 3 daily practice periods. Morning practice resets your mind and sets a tone of awareness for the day ahead. First thing in the morning, notice the quality of your thoughts. Midday practice offers a chance to clear the mental clutter that's accumulated. Use this as a reset button when overthinking starts to build. Evening practice helps transition from day to night, releasing mental tension and processing the day's experiences. Evening integration. Take time to reflect on your meditation experiences throughout the day. Consider the following: your experience with maintaining focus, types of thoughts that frequently arose, physical sensations you noticed, changes in overthinking patterns, moments when returning to your breath felt helpful. Looking ahead, your present moment awareness, which you're developing today, will enhance tomorrow's time-blocking practice. Being able to notice when your mind wanders will help you maintain focus during your scheduled blocks of time. Today's key takeaway: meditation isn't about achieving a perfectly quiet mind. It's about developing the ability to notice when you're caught in overthinking and choose where to place your attention. Each moment of awareness is a small victory. Deepening your practice. Try this for additional support. Extend meditation by 1 minute each day. Experiment with different times of day. Notice which settings help you focus best. Track your progress in your journal. Use guided meditations if helpful. Meditation is a skill that develops with practice. Some sessions will feel easier than others, and that's completely normal. What matters is showing up consistently and approaching each practice with curiosity rather than judgment. Tomorrow, you'll bring this same quality of attention to structuring your time, using time blocking to create clear boundaries for different types of thinking and activities. Day 12, time blocking your day. Building on yesterday's mindfulness practice, today we explore how structuring your time can create natural boundaries for your thoughts. Time blocking transforms vague intentions into concrete commitments, helping prevent the scattered thinking that often leads to overthinking. Today's focus, Productivity Reset, Chapter 6. Think of your day like an empty house. You can either let activities randomly fill the spaces, or you can intentionally design how you'll use each room. Time blocking is about creating purposeful spaces for different types of thinking and activity, making it harder for overthinking to take over. Morning setup. Before diving into creating your blocks, take a few moments to prepare. Find a quiet space with your calendar and journal. Review your key commitments for the day. Take 3 centering breaths and notice your current energy level. This awareness will help you create a realistic schedule. Primary exercise, creating your time map. 1. Start with a brain download, 15 minutes. List everything you need or want to accomplish today. Include work tasks, personal activities, and essential maintenance like meals and rest. Don't try to organize yet, just get everything out of your head. 2. Move to block creation, 30 minutes. Begin assigning specific times to your activities. Start with your fixed commitments. Add essential self-care blocks. Create focused work periods. Include transition times. Build in buffer zones for flexibility. Remember that different activities require different types of energy. Schedule analytical tasks when your mind is sharpest, creative work when you're most inspired, and routine tasks when your energy naturally dips. Implementation guidelines. As you move through your block schedule, connect with each transition. Take 3 breaths before starting a new block. This helps your mind shift gears and maintain clarity about what type of thinking each block requires. Honor your blocks as if they were appointments. When overthinking tries to pull you into future or past concerns, gently remind yourself, this is my time for current activity. Use your buffer zones wisely. They aren't just for catching up. They're recovery spaces that help prevent mental fatigue and overthinking. Evening integration, 20 minutes. Review your experience with today's schedule. Notice which blocks felt most natural. Identify where overthinking tried to intrude. Consider what adjustments would help tomorrow. Observe how time awareness affected your thinking. Reflection space. Take time to consider this. How did having clear time boundaries affect your overthinking? Which activities benefited most from being blocked? What surprised you about this structured approach? Where did you find yourself resisting the schedule? How did your sense of control shift throughout the day? Looking ahead, tomorrow, you'll practice constructively saying no, building on today's experience with boundaries. The clarity you've gained about your time will help you make confident decisions about your commitments. Today's key takeaway: time blocking isn't about perfect execution. It's about creating containers that help your mind focus on one thing at a time. Each time you return to your intended focus, you strengthen your ability to direct your thoughts rather than be led by them. Optional deepening practices. Consider these variations to enhance your practice. Color code your blocks by energy type. Create theme days for different types of work. Experiment with block lengths. Design ideal templates for different types of days. Time blocking, like any new skill, improves with practice. Start with a structure that feels supportive rather than restrictive, and adjust as you learn what works best for you. Day 13. Constructive no practice. After creating external boundaries with time blocking yesterday, we turn to setting interpersonal boundaries today. For many overthinkers, saying no triggers hours of second-guessing and guilt. Today, you'll learn to deliver clear, kind refusals that honor your limits and your relationships. Today's focus: boundaries in relationships, Chapter 8. Saying no is like building a fence around a garden. It's not about shutting others out, but about creating space for what matters most to flourish. When we learn to say no effectively, we reduce the mental burden of overcommitment that often fuels overthinking. The challenge is to find the balance between being kind and being clear. Many of us default to over-explaining, making excuses, or leaving the door open when we really mean to close it. This ambiguity often leads to more overthinking and anxiety than a clear, direct no would have caused. Morning setup: find a quiet space with your journal where you won't be interrupted for at least an hour. Take 5 grounding breaths, feeling your feet on the floor and noticing the support of your chair. Think of any pending requests or commitments that you've been hesitating to decline. Notice any tension or resistance that arises in your body when you consider saying no. Primary exercise: crafting your response. 1. Start with request analysis, 20 minutes. Write down a specific request you need to decline. Examine it from all angles. What exactly is being asked? Be specific about the time, energy, and resources required. Why do you need to decline? List your honest reasons. What values are you honoring by saying no? Time with family. Focus on key projects, mental health. What concerns you about refusing? Write out your worst-case scenarios. What patterns from your past make saying no challenging? 2. Move to script development, 30 minutes. Structure your response using the CARES framework. Compassion: show you understand the request's importance. Assertion: state your clear no. Reason: provide brief context, optional. Exit: offer an alternative if appropriate. Support: express continued goodwill. 3. Example development: start with a rough draft, then refine each element. First draft: I can't help with the fundraiser. Refined version: thank you for thinking of me for the fundraiser committee. I'm honored to be asked, but I need to decline. My current commitments require my full attention, and I want to be honest about my capacity. I'd be happy to share some resources that helped me when I organized similar events in the past. Practice session, 30 minutes. Find a private space where you can speak aloud. Practice delivering your no response in stages. 1. First reading: simply read your script aloud. 2. Mirror practice: watch your facial expressions and body language. 3. Standing practice: notice how different postures affect your delivery. 4. Seated practice: find your most natural position. 5. Voice recording: listen for tone and clarity. For each practice round, note the following: where do you rush or hesitate? When does your voice waver? What feelings arise? Where might the other person have questions? How could you make your no clearer while maintaining kindness? Emotional integration: take time to process your feelings about setting this boundary. Notice any guilt or anxiety in your body. Write down the stories you're telling yourself about saying no. Challenge any shoulds that arise. Acknowledge your right to have limits. Remember that clear boundaries serve everyone. Document any overthinking patterns that emerge. Evening review, 20 minutes. Consider your experience. What made crafting the no easier or harder? Where did overthinking try to complicate things? How might this practice serve you going forward? What support do you need to deliver your no? What did you learn about your boundary setting style? Looking ahead, tomorrow's self-compassion check-in will build on today's boundary work. The ability to say no to others starts with saying yes to your own needs and limits. Today's key takeaway: each clear, kind no strengthens your ability to trust your judgment and honor your boundaries. This clarity reduces the mental load of maintaining commitments that don't serve you. Response templates: keep these frameworks handy for future use. Remember to adjust the tone and detail based on your relationship with the requester and the situation's formality. For work requests: thank you for thinking of me for this project. After careful consideration of my current workload, I need to decline. My existing commitments require my full attention to maintain the quality of work I strive for. I'd be happy to recommend someone who might be available or brainstorm other solutions for meeting this need. For social invitations, I really appreciate you including me in your plans. I need to decline this time, but I want you to know I value our connection. I'd love to find another time to connect when I can be fully present and enjoy our time together. For ongoing commitments, I valued being part of this group/project, and I want to be transparent about my need to step back. I can continue until date to help with the transition, but after that, I'll need to conclude my involvement. I'm happy to help document what I've been doing to make the transition smoother. A clear no now prevents confusion and resentment later. Your boundaries protect your ability to show up fully for what matters most to you. Day 14, self-compassion check-in. After practicing setting external boundaries yesterday, today we turn inward to develop a kinder relationship with ourselves. Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about creating a supportive internal environment that allows for both growth and grace. Today's focus, emotional resilience, Chapter 7. Self-compassion creates an emotional safety net. When we know we'll respond to ourselves with understanding rather than harsh judgment, we're more likely to take risks, admit mistakes, and learn from our experiences rather than get stuck in overthinking loops. Morning setup. Create a space that feels nurturing and private. Perhaps light a candle or make a comforting drink. Have your journal ready and ensure you won't be interrupted for at least an hour. Take several deep breaths, placing one hand on your heart and one on your belly, establishing a physical connection with yourself. Primary exercise, the compassionate letter. 1. Start with situation selection, 20 minutes. Reflect on a recent experience that's been triggering overthinking or self-criticism. Choose something meaningful but manageable. Not your biggest life challenge, but not a trivial matter either. Write about the situation. What happened objectively? How did you feel in the moment? What judgments have you been holding? How has this affected your overthinking? What would you say to a friend in this situation? 2. Move to letter writing, 40 minutes. Structure your letter using the HEART framework. Honesty. Acknowledge what happened without minimizing or exaggerating. Empathy. Connect with your emotional experience. Acceptance. Recognize your humanity and imperfection. Responsibility. Know what you can learn or do differently. Tenderness. Express warmth and understanding toward yourself. 3. Example development. Start with a rough draft, then refine each element. Dear, your name. I see how hard that presentation feedback hit you. It's completely natural to feel disappointed when something you worked on didn't go as planned. Remember that one challenging presentation doesn't define your capabilities. Integration practice, 30 minutes. After writing your letter, follow these steps. 1. Read it aloud to yourself. 2. Notice physical sensations as you read. 3. Highlight phrases that feel particularly meaningful. 4. Note where you resist the compassion. 5. Identify what feels most healing. For each read-through, consider this. What does your voice soften or harden? What emotions arise? Which parts feel true in your body? What might need to be added or adjusted? How could this letter support future challenges? Emotional integration. Take time to process your experience with self-compassion. Notice any resistance to being kind to yourself. Write down old beliefs about self-criticism being necessary. Challenge the myth that self-compassion leads to complacency. Document how compassion might actually support growth. Record any shifts in your overthinking patterns. Evening review, 20 minutes. Reflect on your day of practicing self-compassion. When did you naturally offer yourself kindness? Where did you catch old self-critical patterns? How did self-compassion affect your decision-making? What difference did you notice in your overthinking? What support do you need to maintain this practice? Looking ahead, tomorrow's practice of celebrating small wins will build naturally on today's self-compassion work. You'll learn to acknowledge your progress while maintaining a growth mindset. Today's key takeaway: self-compassion isn't a sign of weakness. It's a crucial skill for emotional resilience. Each moment of kindness toward yourself creates a stronger foundation for clear thinking and purposeful action. Compassion prompts for future use. Keep these sentence starters handy for future self-compassion practice. For mistakes, I acknowledge that this didn't go as planned, and that's hard. At the same time, I know that mistakes are how we learn and grow. For overwhelm, this feels really challenging right now, and that's okay. I'm doing my best to navigate a complex situation. For comparison, I honor my own unique journey and timeline. While others may be in different places, I trust in my own process of growth. Self-compassion is a practice that grows stronger over time. Each time you choose understanding over harsh judgment, you're rebuilding your relationship with yourself and creating space for clearer, calmer thinking. Week 3. Maintaining momentum and preventing relapse. As you enter the final week of this journey, the focus shifts to sustaining and strengthening your new practices. While the first 2 weeks were about understanding and implementing tools, Week 3 is about weaving these practices into the fabric of your daily life. Think of it as moving from learning to drive to naturally navigating the roads. Day 15. Celebrate small wins. After deepening your self-compassion practice yesterday, we now focus on acknowledging progress and building momentum. Our overthinking minds often rush past achievements to focus on what's next or what could go wrong. Today, we'll practice intentionally noticing and celebrating progress. Today's focus, building momentum, Chapter 6. Success builds upon success, but only if we take the time to notice and integrate our wins. Think of each small victory as a stepping stone across a stream. Each one makes the next step more accessible and builds confidence in your journey. Morning setup. Find a quiet space where you can reflect undisturbed. Have your journal from the past 2 weeks nearby. Create an environment that feels uplifting. Perhaps play gentle music or sit in natural light. Take several centering breaths, allowing yourself to settle into a mindset of appreciation. Primary exercise, victory mapping. 1. Start with a comprehensive review, 30 minutes. Page through your journal from the past 2 weeks, noting the following: challenges you've faced and handled, new tools you've implemented, moments of clarity or insight, times you caught overthinking early, instances of choosing action over analysis. 2. Create your victory map, 45 minutes. Use the WINS framework to categorize your successes. Wisdom, new insights or understanding gained. Implementation, tools successfully put into practice. Navigation, challenging situations handled well. Shifts, changes in thinking patterns or responses. For each victory, document the following: what specifically happened? What skills or strengths did you demonstrate? How did this one build on previous progress? What does this success make possible going forward? Integration practice, 30 minutes. Choose 3 significant wins to explore deeply. Then, follow these steps for each win. 1. Write the full story of what happened. 2. Notice how you feel in your body as you recall it. 3. Identify the specific choices that led to success. 4. Consider what this victory teaches you about yourself. 5. Envision how to build on the success. Emotional integration. Process your experience of celebration. Notice any discomfort with acknowledging success. Observe how celebration affects your energy. Document shifts in your overthinking patterns. Record how recognition influences motivation. Note any resistance to feeling proud. Evening review, 20 minutes. Reflect on your day of celebration. Which wins felt easiest to acknowledge? Where did you find yourself minimizing success? How did celebration affect your thinking patterns? What differences did you notice in your mood? How might regular celebration support your progress? Looking ahead, tomorrow's active listening exercise will build on today's practice of present moment awareness. The confidence gained from acknowledging your progress will support you in maintaining focus during conversations. Today's key takeaway: celebrating progress isn't indulgent. It's essential for sustainable growth. Each acknowledged success strengthens your foundation for clearer thinking and decisive action. Victory journal prompts. Keep these prompts handy for ongoing celebration practice. 4 daily wins. Today, I successfully. I'm proud of how I noticed growth in. For weekly integration, this week I've improved in. I'm building strength in. I'm developing the habit of. Celebration isn't about perfection, but acknowledging progress and building momentum. Each recognized win creates positive reinforcement for continued growth and clearer thinking. Day 16, active listening exercise. Building on yesterday's celebration of progress, we practice being fully present in our conversations today. Often, overthinking manifests as mental rehearsal during discussions, planning our response while others are speaking or analyzing their words instead of truly hearing them. Today's focus, overthinking-free relationships, Chapter 8. Think of active listening as meditation in motion. Just as meditation anchors you to your breath, active listening anchors you to the speaker's words, tone, and presence. This practice not only deepens connections, but also provides relief from the exhausting cycle of social overthinking. Morning setup. Before your first conversation of the day, prepare your mind for deep listening. Find a quiet moment to set your intention. Take several grounding breaths and remind yourself that your only job during conversations today is to listen with your full attention. Primary exercise, present moment listening. 1. Determine conversations 5 minutes. Choose 3 conversations today for focused practice. These could be a morning check-in with family, a work meeting or discussion, a social interaction. 2. Pre-conversation preparation, 5 minutes. Follow these steps for each chosen conversation. Notice your current mental state. Set aside pending tasks or concerns. Take 3 centering breaths. Remind yourself of your listening intention. Release any need to fix or advise. 3. During the conversation, focus on observing the following: the speaker's exact words, their tone of voice, body language and expressions, emotional undertones, your own physical responses. Integration practice. After each conversation, take 10 minutes to reflect on the following: physical awareness. Where was your attention during the conversation? What sensations did you notice in your body? How did your breathing change? What tension or relaxation did you experience? Mental patterns. When did your mind try to wander? What triggered mental rehearsal? How did you bring attention back? What did you notice when fully present? Evening integration, 20 minutes. Review your listening experiences. Which conversations felt most natural? Where did overthinking try to intrude? What helped you stay present? How did others respond to your full attention? What insights emerged about your relationships? Looking ahead, today's presence work will enhance tomorrow's practice of revisiting past decisions. The skill of staying present with what is, rather than getting lost in mental chatter, will help you examine past choices with clarity rather than judgment. Today's key takeaway: true listening creates a bridge between minds, leaving less room for overthinking to interfere. Each moment of genuine attention strengthens your ability to be present rather than caught in mental rehearsal. Listening practice guidelines. Keep these reminders handy for future conversations. Physical anchors. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your breathing. Maintain comfortable eye contact. Relax your shoulders. Keep your posture open and receptive. Mental anchors. Focus on understanding rather than responding. Notice when your mind wanders. Gently return attention to the speaker. Accept pauses and silence. Let go of the need to fix or solve. Active listening is about continually choosing presence over mental chatter. Each time you return your focus to the speaker, you strengthen your capacity for genuine connection and reduce the power of overthinking in relationships. Day 17. Revisit a past decision without guilt. After practicing present moment awareness through active listening yesterday, we turn to making peace with past decisions today. This practice requires a delicate balance, examining past choices for genuine learning while avoiding the trap of unproductive regret and endless replay. Today's focus: overcoming regret, Chapter 4. Think of past decisions like old photographs. They capture a moment in time, showing us only what was visible then, not what we can see now with the benefit of hindsight. Today's practice helps you examine these snapshots with wisdom rather than judgment. Morning setup. Create a calm, grounded space for this reflection work. Find a private location where you won't be disturbed. Have your journal ready and perhaps a comforting drink. Take several deep breaths, reminding yourself that you're approaching this work from a place of learning, not criticism. Primary exercise, decision review. 1. Start with selection, 15 minutes. Choose a past decision that you often revisit, something significant enough to matter, but not your most traumatic experience. Notice what comes up in your body as you think about this decision. 2. Context mapping, 30 minutes. Document the complete picture of when you made this decision. What information did you have then? What pressures or constraints existed? What were your primary concerns? What values were you trying to honor? What options seemed available at the time? Integration practice, 45 minutes. Apply the learned framework to your chosen decision. Look at the facts objectively. What actually happened? What were the real, not imagined, consequences? What worked and what didn't? Examine your growth. How have you changed since then? What do you understand now that you didn't then? What strengths have you developed as a result? Accept the reality. Acknowledge that you made the best decision you could with what you knew. Recognize that uncertainty is part of every decision. Notice where you're still holding onto should-haves. Release the weight. Identify what learning you want to carry forward. Choose what aspects of this experience to let go. Write a statement of closure for yourself. Next time preparation. A list specific lessons to apply to future decisions. Create guidelines for similar situations. Design support strategies for challenging choices. Evening integration, 20 minutes. Reflect on your experience of reviewing this decision. How has your perspective shifted? What feelings emerged during the review? Where did you find self-compassion? What wisdom can you harvest? How might this new viewpoint serve you? Looking ahead, tomorrow's practice of the 5-minute rule for avoided tasks will build on today's work with difficult emotions. The ability to face past decisions with courage will support you in tackling present challenges. Today's key takeaway: every decision is made with limited information in a specific context. Understanding this truth helps release the burden of perfect choices and opens the door to genuine learning. Decision Processing Journal. Keep these reflection prompts for future decision review. For initial response, when I think about this decision now, I notice the story I've been telling myself is. What I know now that I didn't know then is. For learning integration, this experience taught me. I can use this learning too. Moving forward, I will. Each time you choose learning over self-criticism, you strengthen your ability to make future decisions with clarity and confidence. Day 18. 5-minute rule to kickstart an avoided task. After making peace with past decisions yesterday, today we turn to taking action in the present. The 5-minute rule offers a gentle but powerful way to break through procrastination and overthinking by making the start so small it bypasses your brain's resistance. Today's focus: beating procrastination, Chapter 6. Think of starting a task like dipping your toe in a pool. The hardest part is often that first contact. Once you're in, even for just a moment, you realize the water isn't as cold as your mind imagined. The 5-minute rule works by making that first touch virtually effortless. Morning setup. Create a clear workspace free from distractions. Have your task list nearby. Take several centering breaths and remind yourself that you're only committing to 5 minutes, nothing more. Notice any resistance or anxiety that arises about the tasks you've been avoiding. Primary exercise, the 5-minute start. 1. Task selection, 15 minutes. Write down 3 tasks you've been avoiding. For each one, note the following: how long you've been postponing it. What thoughts come up when you consider starting? What fears or concerns are holding you back? The smallest possible first step you could take. Choose one task for today's practice. Remember, pick something challenging enough to matter, but not so daunting that 5 minutes feels impossible. 2. Implementation, 45 minutes. Pre-start preparation. Gather everything you need for your chosen task. Set a timer for exactly 5 minutes. Write down your entry point, the precise action you'll take first. Take 3 centering breaths. Begin during your 5 minutes. Focus solely on the task. Notice any urges to stop or switch activities. Keep going until the timer sounds. Observe if momentum begins to build. Pay attention to shifts in your energy. After the timer, write down what you accomplished. Know how you feel. Decide if you want to continue. Document any insights about your resistance. Consider setting another 5-minute timer. Evening integration, 20 minutes. Reflect on your experience. What surprised you about the 5 minutes? How did starting feel compared to thinking about starting? Where did you find natural momentum? What did you learn about your procrastination patterns? How might you use this tool moving forward? Looking ahead, tomorrow's emotional trigger strategy will build on today's experience with taking action despite discomfort. The confidence gained from starting small will support you in handling bigger emotional challenges. Today's key takeaway: action, even tiny action, breaks the spell of overthinking. Each 5-minute start proves that doing is often easier than thinking about doing. 5-minute success templates. Keep these prompts handy for future use. Entry points. The smallest possible step I can take is, for just 5 minutes, I will. My only goal right now is to. Momentum building. Now that I've started, I could. The next small step would be, I'm curious about trying. Each small start builds confidence in your ability to take action rather than getting stuck in analysis. Day 19. Emotional trigger strategy. Building on yesterday's experience of taking small actions, we will develop your personal reset strategy for emotional triggers today. This practice combines the self-awareness you've built over the past weeks with specific, actionable responses to challenging moments. Today's focus: bouncing back from setbacks, Chapter 7. Think of emotional triggers like waves. They build, peak, and eventually pass. Rather than trying to stop the waves, you'll learn to surf them skillfully today. Drawing on your Day 8 trigger mapping work, you'll create a personalized strategy for navigating emotional intensity without getting pulled into overthinking. Morning setup. Find a quiet space where you can reflect undisturbed. Keep your journal and trigger mapping notes from Day 8 nearby. Before beginning this work, take several grounding breaths to establish a sense of centered presence. Primary exercise: building your reset strategy. Strategy development, 45 minutes. First response protocol. 1. Physical reset. Identify your go-to breath pattern. Map out 3 different walking routes. Create a grounding gesture, hand on heart, feet firmly planted. Design a quick stretching sequence. Choose a physical anchor, smooth stone, stress ball. 2. Mental reset tools. Select 3 mantras that resonate deeply. Create short power statements. Develop a 3-step thought redirection process. Write out reality check questions. Design pattern interruption phrases. Practice sessions, 3 20-minute periods. 1. Morning practice. Choose one trigger from your previous mapping. Simulate the trigger in your mind and practice your reset sequence. Notice physical sensations. Implement your chosen reset tools. Document their effectiveness. Refine your approach. Practice until it feels natural. 2. Midday practice. Work with a different trigger. Run through your reset sequence. Time how long it takes. Know what works best. Adjust the order if needed. Practice rapid implementation. 3. Afternoon practice. Test your strategy with a 3rd trigger. Practice in different environments. Try various combinations of tools. Notice which elements feel most accessible. Document what you're learning. Make final adjustments. Evening integration, 30 minutes. Review your practice experiences. Which reset tools felt most natural? What patterns emerged in your responses? How quickly could you implement the strategy? What modifications would make it more effective? Or might you need additional support? Looking ahead, tomorrow's visualization practice will incorporate today's reset strategies, helping you imagine implementing these tools in future challenging situations. Today's key takeaway: quick resets aren't about suppressing emotions. They're about creating space between trigger and response, allowing you to choose your path forward rather than being driven by reactivity. Personal reset protocol. Create your own customized sequence. 1. Immediate response, 30 seconds. Recognition phrase. I'm being triggered. Physical anchor. Your chosen gesture. Take 3 conscious breaths. Do a quick body scan. Take an initial grounding movement. 2. Short-term reset, 2 to 3 minutes. Remove yourself if possible. Implement breathing pattern. Use a power statement. Physical movement sequence. Reality check questions. 3. Extended reset, 5 to 10 minutes. Walking meditation. Journaling prompt. Support person contact. Emotional release practice. Next step planning. Situational adaptations. Develop variations for different contexts. Work environment. Bathroom break reset. Quick outdoor walk. Desktop breathing practice. Silent mantra repetition. Stretch break sequence. Public spaces. Grounding through feet. Phone call break. Find quiet corner. Water/tea break. Brief car reset. Home setting. Room change. Shower reset. Kitchen task focus. Pet interaction. Music intervention. Remember, your reset strategy should be both powerful and practical. Something you can implement in real-world situations when emotions are high and thinking is clouded. Each practice strengthens your ability to respond skillfully to triggers rather than getting caught in overthinking spirals. Day 20. Visualize your overthinking-free life. After developing concrete strategies for emotional triggers yesterday, today we turn to creating a compelling vision of your future. This isn't about fantasy. It's about deliberately designing and embodying the clear thinking life you've been building toward. Today's focus. Looking forward, Chapter 9. Think of today's visualization as creating a detailed blueprint for your mind. Just as architects must see a building clearly in their minds before construction begins, you'll develop a vivid picture of your life with managed overthinking, making that future feel both real and achievable. Morning setup. Create an environment conducive to deep visualization work. Find a comfortable, quiet space where you won't be interrupted. Consider using soft lighting or natural light. You might play gentle background music if it helps you focus. Have your journal ready to capture insights. Primary exercise, future self visualization. Preparation, 15 minutes. Take time to settle into your body. Ground yourself through your feet. Lengthen your spine. Relax your shoulders. Soften your facial muscles. Take several clearing breaths. Deep visualization, 30 minutes. 1. Daily life scene. Imagine yourself 6 months from now, moving through your day. How do you start your morning? What's different about your thought patterns? How do you handle decisions? What's your energy level like? How do you interact with others? 2. Challenge navigation. Visualize handling typical trigger situations. Work presentations. Social interactions. Personal decisions. Unexpected changes. Time pressures. 3. Internal experience. Focus on your inner world. What thoughts arise? How do you process them? What's your relationship with uncertainty? How do you feel emotionally? What's your default response to stress? Integration practice, 45 minutes, detailed documentation. Physical aspects, posture and body language. Energy levels throughout the day. Physical sensations. Movement patterns. Stress response. Mental patterns. Decision-making approach. Thought processing. Focus and attention. Mental energy management. Response to challenges. Emotional landscape. Overall emotional tone. Relationship with feelings. Emotional resilience. Connection with others. Self-trust level. Evening integration, 30 minutes. Create an action bridge between your current self and your vision. What elements of this future are already present? Which of the tools you've learned support this vision? What new habits will you need to develop? Where might you need additional support? How can you start embodying this future self now? Looking ahead, tomorrow's habit tracker creation will help you take concrete steps toward the vision you've created today, ensuring your future self becomes your present reality. Today's key takeaway: clear vision creates clear direction. Each time you connect with your future self, You strengthen the neural pathways that support clear thinking and purposeful action. Vision maintenance practices. Keep these prompts handy for regular vision renewal. Morning check-in. Today I embody my future self by. I choose to respond to challenges by. I maintain clear thinking through. Evening review. Today I moved closer to my vision by. I notice growth in. Tomorrow I will strengthen. Future self-dialogue template. Use this framework for ongoing connection with your vision. Dear future self, what has helped you most in managing overthinking? What would you remind me about handling uncertainty? How do you maintain clarity under pressure? What practices are most important to maintain? What would you like me to know right now? Each time you connect with your future self, you strengthen your commitment to the practices that support clear, purposeful thinking. Keep this vision alive through regular review and refinement, allowing it to evolve as you continue growing and learning. Day 21. Habit Tracker and Relapse Prevention. You've arrived at the final day of our structure program. Building on yesterday's vision work, today is about creating concrete systems to maintain your progress and handle setbacks skillfully. Think of it as building both a maintenance schedule and an emergency kit for your mind. Today's focus, sustaining your reset, Chapter 9. Just as a garden needs regular tending to flourish, your new mental habits need consistent attention and care. Today, you'll create a personalized system for tracking your practices and responding effectively when old patterns try to resurface. Morning setup. Find a quiet space with all your notes from the past 3 weeks. Have a fresh journal or planner ready. Take time to ground yourself, acknowledging how far you've come while preparing to build your maintenance system. Primary exercise. Building your sustainability system. Habit inventory, 30 minutes. Review all practices from the past 21 days. For each one, note, how helpful was this tool? When did you use it most effectively? What made it easier or harder to implement? How might you adapt it for long-term use? What support do you need to maintain it? Tracker design, 45 minutes. Create your personalized tracking system. 1. Daily practices. Morning mindfulness check-in. Gratitude moment. Decision formula use. Active listening practice. Evening reflection. 2. Weekly practices. Time blocking review. Trigger pattern check. Success celebration. Boundary assessment. Vision reconnection. 3. Monthly practices. Full habit system review. Strategy refinement. Challenge preparation. Support network check-in. A growth acknowledgement. Relapse prevention protocol. Develop your early warning system. Recognition signals. Increased mental chatter. Decision paralysis returning. Sleep disruption. Physical tension. Social withdrawal. Response strategy. 1. Acknowledge the pattern early. 2. Return to foundational practices. 3. Implement stress reduction tools. 4. Seek support if needed. 5. Review recent triggers. Evening integration, 30 minutes. Create your ongoing maintenance plan. Schedule regular review times. Set reminder systems. Plan accountability check-ins. Identify potential challenges. Prepare support resources. Moving forward, remember that progress isn't linear. Your goal isn't perfection, but building resilience and maintaining momentum over time. Each day is an opportunity to strengthen your new patterns and deepen your practice. Today's key takeaway: sustainable change comes from consistent practice supported by reliable systems. Your habit tracker isn't just about monitoring. It's about building a lifestyle that supports clear thinking and purposeful action. Maintenance tools. 1. Daily check-in questions. What practices supported me today? Where did I notice old patterns? How did I handle challenges? What adjustments would help tomorrow? What am I celebrating? 2. Weekly review template. Patterns noticed. Successes celebrated. Challenges faced. Adjustments needed. Support accessed. 3. Monthly assessment guide. Progress overview. System effectiveness. Pattern recognition. Strategy refinement. A growth acknowledgement. Emergency response kit. Keep these readily available. Immediate reset tools. 3 emergency contacts. 5-minute grounding practice. Quick reference mantras. Simplified decision formula. Movement reset sequence. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning of implementing these tools and strategies in your daily life. Each day offers new opportunities to choose clear thinking over overthinking, purposeful action over paralysis, and growth over stagnation. Stay connected to your vision while remaining grounded in present moment practices. Your toolkit is